Chapter 2177. Zhang Feng left casually, but the three girls were in trouble. How would the three girls know what Zhang Feng was up to? After a long time, he hurriedly asked Zhang Feng about it. Only then did he manage to resolve the urgent situation. But what was epimedium? The three girls couldn't help but be more confused. After seeing everyone off, the three women saw Zhang Feng leisurely drinking tea in the backyard, and they couldn't help but feel angry. As soon as they came up, you couldn't help but ask, "Brother Feng, you said perfume helps with pregnancy?" Zhang Feng was stunned. Looking at Yu's rare blush, he laughed and said, "It's all nonsense. How can that thing help with pregnancy?" Hearing that, Zhang Yuyao stared. "You're lying? What if they find out?" "It doesn't matter. Perfume can't be mixed with too many things. This will affect the quality of the perfume. But soap is different. I added epimedium in this thing. It's good stuff. It's good for the kidney and aphrodisiac. If a man uses it, it'll be strange if he can resist. Remember, there are two types of soap. One is the one that I make very delicate. It's for women. When you sell it in the future, remember to tell them that the soap and perfume are used together for the best effect. That is, when you take a bath, use the soap and then use the perfume. In the women's soap, not only did I add perfume, but I also added donkey hide gelatin. This thing is a woman's treasure." Zhang Feng told the three girls about the sale and the secret of the soap. He didn't have much time to deal with business matters. He didn't feel at ease leaving these matters to others. Only the three girls would feel most at ease. There was nothing special about the perfume. The most special thing was the soap. It was the easiest to make a fuss about it. As long as it was used properly, it could help with pregnancy and aphrodisiac. It was just that the amount of epimedium was not enough. If the amount of epimedium was enough, even if they were in their 70s or 80s, it was not impossible for them to carry a baby. Just like the locusts from before, no one was interested in them at first. But when they heard about aphrodisiac, they were instantly sold at a higher price than gold. Not to mention the combination of perfume and soap. It was only at this moment that it truly played its greatest role. At this moment, he realized that perfumes and soaps didn't need women, but men. Only by opening up the men's market could everything be solved. After thinking through all this, Zhang Feng instantly thought of a lot of things. For example, cigars, health supplements, and daily necessities. Zhang Feng had even thought of skincare products. In short, he just needed to do whatever he could to make money. In this way, his wish of emptying all the cash in Jiangnan City in 2 months would come true. In Yuezhou, the most influential and wealthy clan was the Fan clan, which had always kept a low profile. They controlled all the banks and pawn shops in Yu province, and even a few casinos and brothels were owned by his family. In other words, almost all the entertainment and finance in Yu province belonged to his family. The brothels here were not the despicable kind, but a collective name. Almost every brothel had its own name. For example, the brothel was divided into meat brothel and vegetable brothel. The vegetable brothel was almost a place where scholars talked about things, drank wine, and listened to singing and dancing. If there was a girl they liked, they could go there in private. This was a relatively common place, and it was also the favorite place of the public. Another kind was meat brothel, which was almost all high-end consumption places for those prodigals and stubborn people who squandered money like water. Whether it was the brothel or the brothel, they were almost all divided in this way. But here was different from Chang'an, or the places in Jiangnan City were different from the western and northern parts. The difference was that Chang'an called the vegetable brothel, which was the cultured place, Lu, and the meat brothel was called the brothel. But the south was different. Most of the people here were literati. The meat brothel was called the residence, the cultured vegetable brothel was called the temple, and the non-meat brothel was called the brothel. This thing was also told by Jia Daoren after Zhang Feng came to Jiangnan City. It made Zhang Feng have an idea of going to the meat brothel. But it was just a thought, and some people really went to the meat brothel. For example, at this moment, the young master of the Wu family, Wu Liuji, was bullied in the poetry house. He originally wanted to go home and teach Zhang Feng a lesson, but he did not expect that the bastard Wu Miner actually helped an outsider. Fortunately, He stole the perfume that Wu Miner gave to the family head's father today. This thing was not simple. Although Zhang Feng was indeed a bastard, the things he made were very good. At this moment, he sprayed the perfume on himself and instantly became the most popular person in the Shiqing house. Even Fan Jin, the young master of the Fan family, who just came in, was ignored. Fan Jin looked at Wu Liuji, who was reciting poems and making music in the brothel, and frowned slightly. Today, he could come to this smoky place because Wu Liuji sent him a special piece of paper. It was a piece of white paper that Zhang Feng gave him in Yuezhou, and the special thing about this white paper was that it was a fragrance. It was the same as the perfume that Zhang Feng gave to the women in the poetry house that night. When Wu Liuji found Fan Jin was already sitting in his private room, and more than a dozen beauties in the private room were dismissed by Fan Jin. This was the property of the Fan family. Who didn't know it? At this moment, Fan Jin was not in the mood to chat with Wu Liuji. He also knew Wu Liuji's IQ, so he asked, "Brother Wu, what do you want from me today?" "Yes, Brother Fan, what is this thing?" Chapter 2178. It was Fan Jin's first time seeing perfume. At this moment, when Guan Ting saw the perfume bottle, he knew that this thing was extraordinary. At this moment, he immediately put away the contempt on his face. With a dignified expression, he held the small glass in his hand, pulled out the rubber stopper, and smelled it. "Is this Zhang Feng's perfume?" Seeing that Fan Jin saw through it, Wu Liuji laughed and said, "That's right. It's this thing." In Brother Fan's eyes, "How much is this thing worth? How did you get it?" Fan Jin was not stupid. He asked back. Wu Liuji waved his hand and said, "That bastard took a liking to one of my barbarian sisters and gave it to her and her mother. Also, because of this, those two bastards personally went to the Zhang family's door and stayed there for 2 hours. Tell me, one is a talented scholar, the other is an exotic beauty, and the other is one of the top 10 beauties in Jiangnan." Wu Liuji didn't finish his words. He looked at Fan Jin and smiled. Fan Jin knew it. However, he absolutely did not believe Wu Liuji's words. Although he had never dealt with Zhang Feng, he thought that a person who could make such a big name in Chang and should not be such a despicable person. He couldn't help but be immersed in the perfume. This bottle should be made of colored glass. The last time I was in Chang and I saw a colored glass bottle of this color in the house of a third-rank official, and I only saw one. I heard that it was specially used by the royal family and was given by the emperor. But compared to the shape of this one is slightly lacking. It's too small and doesn't have much use and value. However, the material should be similar to the one used by the royal family. Therefore, I think the price should be around 1,000 gold. It's gold. Hiss! Wu Liuji was also shocked. He stopped being frivolous and asked, "Brother Fan, are you serious?" Fan Jin ignored him and said lightly, 2 months ago, my father and I went to Chang'an to visit a relative. He was a third-rank official. He said it himself. How can it be false? And I heard that someone in the black market offered 100,000 gold for his cup. Now, Brother Wu, what do you think? Although this bottle is a bit niche, this method of forging colored glaze is obviously not unique to our Tang dynasty. Even in the entire world, it is estimated to be the most advanced. As for the stopper, Fan Jin frowned slightly and squeezed hard. The stopper was deformed by the force of his fingers, but when he withdrew his strength, it returned to its original state. Furthermore, this thing was sealed so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. He really couldn't figure out what material it was made of. Therefore, he could only helplessly shake his head and say, "Forgive my poor eyesight, but I don't know what this thing is made of. I think it shouldn't be an ordinary item." The next moment, Fan Jin began to study the perfume again. Fan Jin carefully dripped a drop on the back of his hand and then licked it with his tongue. There was no taste at all. However, it looked golden and had a rich fragrance. This put Fan Jin in a difficult position. This humble one is slow-witted and doesn't know what this is. However, this should be a mixture of dozens and hundreds of herbs, right? I tasted no less than 13 kinds of flowers and plants in it, and even musk and other herbs. The Fan family not only had amazing talent in business, but Fan Jin was also a weirdo. He didn't like business since he was a child, and he didn't like copper coins and account books. Instead, he was more obsessed with the flowers and plants in the courtyard, as well as every kind of Chinese herb. In more than 10 years, he actually created the name of the little miracle-working doctor in Yuezhou. Today, Wu Liuji wanted him to take a look at what this perfume was, but now he got the answer, and Wu Liuji was even more confused. He hurriedly asked, "Brother Fan, are you sure you haven't seen this kind of thing before?" "I've never seen it before." Fan Jin thought for a long time and then said with certainty. Wu Liuji didn't give up and asked again, "Brother Fan, you just said that the material of this glass bottle is exactly the same as the glass cup bestowed by the emperor in the palace. Do you think Zhang Feng stole it?" Fan Jin's eyes lit up when he heard this, but then they dimmed immediately. "I asked about this thing before. I heard that the emperor got it from a master in Mount Shao. I don't need to say more about this master. Brother Wu, you should know who he is, right? Mount Shao? Could it be Zhang Feng?" Fan Jin nodded and said, "Since this matter is over, this humble one will take his leave." He hurriedly left as he spoke. Only Wu Liuji was left with a confused face. "After talking for so long, what the hell did we talk about? I asked you to come here because of this, and you actually ran away from me?" Wu Liuji thought of the plan in his heart and hurriedly suppressed the anger in his heart. He hurriedly got up and pressed Fan Jin down. He said with a smile, "Brother Fan, I just learned that this thing was stolen by Zhang Feng from Dr. Sun's peerless treasure." "Who is Dr. Sun?" "He is the great miracle-working doctor of the dynasty." "Brother Fan, think about it. If you really encountered such a thing, what would you do?" Chapter 2179. Thinking of this, Fan Jin couldn't help but be stunned. Wu Liuji was right. Dr. Sun's things were definitely treasures. Fan Jin also knew that Wu Liuji's intention was definitely not as simple as he said. He just wanted to take the opportunity to get the method of making that thing. However, who wouldn't want to see the secret recipe of Dr. Sun? What was this? This was simply a priceless treasure for people like them who were fond of this kind of medicine. Thinking of this, Fan Jin asked cautiously, "Are you sure this thing is really what Dr. Sun said?" Seeing that there was hope, Wu Liuji also patted his chest and said, "If Brother Fan doesn't believe it, you can send someone to ask the people who went to Zhang Mansion today. You will know if it's true or not." Seeing this, Fan Jin waved his hand and called a few servants, and then asked them to inquire about it. An hour. No matter what Wu Liuji said, Fan Jin didn't believe it. After all, this matter was too important. Moreover, when he went to Chang'an, he also knew about Zhang Feng. He still remembered that the relative once sighed and said that he and Zhang Feng were similar in age. Although that person said it unintentionally, how could he, who had always been strong, not remember it in his heart? Originally, she wanted to visit Zhang Feng, but because her family seemed to have some plans for Zhang Feng, it was not convenient for her to come out for the time being. Almost everyone knew that Dr. Sun went to Egret Academy in Shao Mountain, so at this moment, when he heard such a stubborn person like Wu Liuji say such things, Fan Jin didn't refute. An academy? Why did they call a divine doctor? This was something that no one thought of. They didn't even understand why a good academy would impart knowledge of medicine. What was the meaning of this? Everyone knew that these things were the result of a lifetime's worth of hard work, as well as the inheritance of their master. Revealing them to the world like this was not something an ordinary person could do. At least, Fan Jin absolutely couldn't do such a generous thing. An hour wasn't a long time, and the people he sent out returned in a hurry. Wu Liuji's spirits were lifted as soon as these people arrived. "Young master, I just heard about it. I just went to ask a villager who works for the Zhao family. He said that people from the Zhao family did go to Zhang Feng's residence today. When they came back, they said that they brought back something that Dr. Sun and Prince Zhang made together." "What?" Fan Jin turned pale with fright. He looked at Wu Liuji suspiciously and angrily and said, "Brother Wu, didn't you say that Zhang Feng stole this secret recipe? Why did I hear that this thing was created by Zhang Feng and divine Dr. Sun?" "Haha, Brother Fan, please have a seat. Let's talk properly." Seeing this, Fan Jin waved his sleeve angrily and said, "There's nothing to say. Don't think that I don't know what you want to do." At this moment, Everyone in Shiqing Pavilion looked over. Wu Liuji's expression turned ugly. After all, they were all respectable people, and manager Wu Liuji was really angry and wanted to vent his anger. But how could he stand being pointed at and scolded so loudly? With a sneer, Wu Liuji said lightly, "Let me ask you, why didn't this thing appear before Zhang Feng left Chang'an? And why did he suddenly come to Jiangnan? Yes, the reason is that he came here for the woman of the Yu family. But have you thought about it? With Zhang Feng's ability, why didn't he send Yu directly to Chang'an? Why did he come to Jiangnan alone? Also, why couldn't he wait to sell these perfumes as soon as he came to Jiangnan? And you said that this glass bottle was specially used by the royal family. Why did Zhang Feng have it?" These 3 questions in a row instantly got Fan Jin's answer. He didn't know why Zhang Feng suddenly came to Jiangnan. And with Zhang Feng's status and identity as a great scholar, why did he come to Jiangnan in such a low-key way? At one time, many people even mistakenly thought that he was not the rumored Zhang Feng. There must be something wrong when things were abnormal. This was absolutely true. He could crush these people with his identity. Why did he keep such a low profile? Thinking of this, Fan Jin also thought of a lot of things that were wrong. At this moment, he calmed down and couldn't help but feel a little nervous. "Brother Wu, I was in a bad mood just now. You also know the position of Dr. Sun in our hearts. 2 months ago, I went to Chang'an, and Dr. Sun was invited to teach at White Deer College, so I was a little excited for a while." Wu Liuji smiled faintly. "It's okay. It's not a big deal. At first, I didn't believe it, but in the end, I confirmed it again and again. Brother Fan, there's one more thing. You have to be mentally prepared." At this moment, Wu Liuji put away the smile on his face and looked sad and indignant. Fan Jin couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly asked, "What's the matter?" Wu Liuji vigilantly dismissed everyone, then staggered up and said in Fan Jin's ear, "The reason why Zhang Feng sent these things to the Zhao family and the Wu family is actually to propose marriage." Chapter 2180. Fan Jin finally understood. Why would he, Zhang Feng, give away something so valuable just like that? Why did he choose to hide his identity when he could have come to Jiangnan? All of these made Fan Jin feel a little confused. It would be strange if there was no problem. There was definitely a big problem. Otherwise, why would he spend money like water when he came to Yuezhou? Why would he disguise himself as a businessman and give away a few £100 of paper that was worth thousands of strings of coins? This was definitely not something a normal person would do. Thinking of this, Fan Jin said apologetically, "Brother Wu, today's matter is too big. I have to think about it carefully. This is a private matter between Zhang Feng, the Wu family, and the Zhao family. I have no right to meddle too much." Seeing that Fan Jin was a little shaken at this moment, Wu Liuji rolled his eyes and said, "Brother Fan, do you know who Zhang Feng prepared this perfume for? Moreover, Brother Fan is proficient in medicine. Don't you know what kind of people like this?" Hearing this, Fan Jin narrowed his eyes instantly. "You mean all these things are because of Zhang Feng?" Wu Liuji nodded and said, "Yes, and not only that, this time Zhang Feng's appearance may change the relationship between all the clans. I also heard that the Zhao family and the Wu family have the intention of marrying Zhao Yu and Zhao Ru to Zhang Feng to completely tie down Zhang Feng. Brother Fan, think about it. What will happen if the other clans know about this?" Hearing Wu Liuji's words, Fan Jin frowned slightly. Almost everyone knew about the matter between him and the Wu family's daughter. Most importantly, Wu Wanqi was also one of the top 10 beauties of Jiangnan. Yu Yu'er by Zhang Feng's side was not to be mentioned. Jingshu's name was not simple. She was known as the top beauty in Chang'an and the Guanyi circuit. This title was not just for show. Being able to make a name for herself in Chang'an, a place where good and bad mixed together, and being able to maintain her virginity among these people, what did this mean? Even among the top 10 beauties of Jiangnan, she was definitely ranked second. As for Zhang Yuyao, she was definitely at the forefront. Think about it, in the face of absolute benefits, what was a woman worth? Thinking about it this way, Fan Jin instantly understood why Wu Liuji had asked him to come here today. "Brother Wu, feel free to speak your mind." Seeing that Fan Jin was finally dragged into the water, Wu Liuji said loudly. Brother Fan, what are you talking about? I have no other purpose today. I just want to have a chat with Brother Fan. I don't care why Zhang Feng came to Jiangnan. I just feel very uncomfortable. Moreover, an elder of the Wu family once told me that the Wu family wanted to deal with Zhang Feng. Moreover, Zhang Feng came this time to target us. I was thinking, if we joined forces? Fan Jin frowned slightly and said, I also heard about this from my family. However, this kind of thing is decided by the people in the family. I have no right to interfere, and I won't do anything because of this. Brother Wu, you said so much to me today. Is it nothing more than wanting to rope me in? Fan Jin stared at Wu Liuji and said word by word, You, what is your plan? Wu Liuji shrugged and gave Fan Jin a cup of wine. He said, My plan is not important. What's important is that the Zheng family is here, and a young master of the Zheng family is preparing to join forces with other officials in Jiangnan to deal with Zhang Feng. It's best to ruin his reputation. The Zheng family. This time, Fan Jin finally understood everything. Almost every family was supported by a big clan, and they were equivalent to the pawns of those big clans. The Fan family had thought of this matter long ago, but in order to avoid being used as cannon fodder, they had kept a low profile, especially after Zhang Feng came to Jiangnan. However, they did not expect the Zheng family to come so quickly. They were already in Jiangnan? Then, that was to say, the young man from the Gao family and Zhang Feng's conflict was intentional? Was it to force him to show his trump card? Fan Jin's face was serious. Wu Liuji continued, I don't want to say more about the Zheng family. Brother Fan, you understand that the Zheng family represents the 7 clans. That is to say, we are already involved. Now it's time for us to take sides. The elders in the clan have their own way of fighting, and we all have our own way of fighting. Young people, we should have our own way of dealing with things. This is what the higher-ups told me. I'll tell you everything now. Brother Fan, you should know what to do, right? Phew! Fan Jin was very excited. He let out a long breath. He took out a bamboo tube from his arms, took out a cigarette, lit it, and took a deep puff. He did not expect that what he had been worried about would happen. He heard with his own ears that 2 months ago, in Chang'an, Zhang Feng killed those Guanyi clans on the street for a student named Qian Wanli. These old clans were not inferior to them in the slightest. Most importantly, those people were the pawns of these big clans. At this moment, was it finally time for a pawn like him to throw his life away? Chapter 2181. Perhaps this was where their sorrow lay. Although in front of others, they were all beautiful and noble, but who would know that they were just cannon fodder raised by the 5 families and 7 clans? Fan Jin didn't know what Wu Liuji said in the end. In a daze, Fan Jin hurried back to the Fan family. At this time, it was already night time, but the whole house was brightly lit, and all the people in the family had returned. The whole courtyard, although full of banquets, was full of sadness on everyone's face. It seemed as if something had happened. Fan Yilin, who was sitting at the door of the front hall and drinking wine, saw this and called Fan Jin. Jin, where have you been? Why did you come back now? Seeing this, Fan Jin was almost sober, although he didn't drink much. Father, just now, I was drinking with brother Wu Liuji. I know about Shiqingzhai's matter. Fan Yilin waved his hand and said, They all came back today for this matter. Hearing this, Fan Jin was stunned. Fan Yilin didn't speak, but waved his hand and said, Come, follow father to the study. At this moment, Fan Jin's mind was extremely heavy. He could tell that the situation at home right now was definitely beyond his imagination. Otherwise, the family wouldn't have urgently called everyone back. At this moment, it was the best time for the business of the bank, the gambling house, and the brothel. At this moment, all the people in charge came back. If it was not an ordinary matter, who would dare to do so? In Fan Jin's imagination, the two entered the backyard of the Fan family. The backyard of the Fan family was a thatched hut. No one knew how long it had existed, and no one knew who lived here, but there were people guarding it almost all the year round, and no one was allowed to enter without permission. But at this moment, this thatched hut was brightly lit, and there were even more than 100 guards outside the hut, holding large swords and pieces, standing guard. Even when he saw the arrival of the two, Fan Yilin also showed something like a token before entering. As soon as he entered the door, the most important and highest elders of the entire Fan family were inside. Everything in the thatched hut was like an ordinary family's home, with a table, a bed, and a stove. However, in the innermost part of the room, there was a tablet for a person called Fan Jian. He did not know who that person was. In front of this row, there was a long table filled with all kinds of Zhang Feng's things. Braised meat, basketballs, stainless steel, rubber, white paper, and even cotton-padded clothes. At this moment, there was also a handkerchief that was emitting a strong fragrance. All the elders took turns to smell the fragrance on the handkerchief, their faces as dark as water. Seeing Fan Yilin and her father come in, the few of them just raised their eyelids. Ever since the Fan family was founded, we have prospered for 200 years without decline. But today we have to make a choice. After today, the Fan family may end up like those old factions in Guangzhou. Fan Jin was shocked when he heard this. He suddenly understood why he was called here today. It turned out that they already knew about what happened in Shiqingzhai. At this moment, an elder of the Fan family looked at Fan Jin and said, "Jin, you are the least like a member of the Fan family in the history of our Fan family. Since you were a child, you were obsessed with medicine, so old man and others also thought about not bothering you to see how far you can go. I didn't expect that in 18 years you, Fan Jin, could also create the title of Little Miracle Working Doctor." After a lot of long-winded words, the old man said, "Today we received a letter from the Cui family, asking us to fully cooperate with them to deal with Zhang Feng. We also know what the juniors of the Wu family told you today. You also know the position of the Fan family, so old man and others asked you, what do you think?" In an instant, all the people in the thatched hut looked at Fan Jin. Fan Jin was in a dilemma. He knew who he was facing, and also knew what his words meant. He also knew what the old man's words meant just now. This meant that the Fan family was ready to abandon the general to protect the rook. That was to say, at this moment, the Fan family and all the clans were almost making a choice. Seeing this, Fan Jin was silent. It was not that he was unwilling, but once he made any decision at this moment, everything would be a foregone conclusion tomorrow. Zhang Feng was backed by the royal family and the imperial court. Behind them were the 5 clans and 7 families. The battle between the 2 superpowers was bound to cause an uproar, and they were bound to become the abandoned pawns. The fate of the 10 old clans in Chong, and was waiting for them in the front. Thinking of this, Fan Jin took a deep breath and said, "Father, elders, I really don't know what to do. If there is a way, I really don't want to be born in an aristocratic family." This was the sorrow of every aristocratic family in Jiangnan. Almost everyone could not control their own fate. What was this if not sorrow? Thinking of this, everyone present was sad. If they could, who would be willing to be manipulated like this? Chapter 2182. Jin, the elders and I would like to know what your plans are. Also, what did Wu Liuji tell you today? Fan Yilin was the first to react and asked. Fan Jin recounted everything that had happened that day in detail. After he finished, the entire thatched cottage was strangely quiet. Everyone had an expression of understanding on their faces. Seeing this, Fan Jin asked curiously, "Father, what exactly happened today?" Fan Yilin waved his hand and said, "You don't have to ask. Let me tell you something. Have you seen the people from the Zhang family?" "No, Wu Liuji told me all this." Fan Yilin heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "In that case, it's easy. You haven't agreed, right?" "No, this is too important. I don't dare to make a decision easily." Seeing this, everyone in the thatched cottage heaved a sigh of relief. If you didn't agree, he still has some leeway. Luckily you didn't agree. Otherwise, you would have to go to Chang'an tonight. In that case, let's not beat around the bush. Let's tell him what happened. Seeing this, Fan Jin was even more confused. He asked, "What exactly happened?" Fan Yilin smiled bitterly and said, "Do you still remember the last time you went to Chang'an?" How could Fan Jin not know? He nodded. Fan Yilin continued, "The last time we went there, We wanted you to go to White Deer College. In the end, we spent a lot of money to get in touch with Dr. Sunday. After Dr. Sun learned about your situation, he was very interested and wanted you to go to the college. This is the note that Dr. Sun gave you. Take it and it will make you a student of White Deer College. In an instant, Fan Jin's face turned pale with fright instead of joy. Although he dreamed of entering White Deer College and becoming Dr. Sun's disciple, how could he go now that he had encountered such a situation? If he left tonight, Wu Liuji would definitely know that he couldn't leave right now. Seeing this, an old man nodded and said, "That's right. It was your great-grandfather who came forward and looked for the Hao family in Luozhou." "Oh right. It's the student by Zhang Feng's side, Hao Chujuan's relative. That's why we had this opportunity. However, I heard that Zhang Feng wants to open an academy in Jiangnan. We don't know the details yet. From now on, you must keep in touch with Zhang Feng. Also, over at the Wu family's side, we will think of a way to delay them. As for the method you use, we don't care." While speaking, Fan Jin was driven out. Seeing this, Fan Yilin also came out. Seeing Fan Jin's confused face, she patted him on the shoulder and said, "What we mean is, tomorrow you go to visit Zhang Feng, and then we will make trouble. You must remember you must adhere to your ideals and stand on the side of justice. Hold on. Then, I will personally make an appearance and publicly announce your expulsion from the genealogy." "What?" Hearing this, Fan Jin was shocked. He hurriedly asked, "Father, what is the meaning of this? Why do you have to do this? We still have a way, right?" But what greeted him was a sigh. "Jin, do you know why we didn't oppose when you liked medicine at the beginning? You have always been smart, and there are some things that I don't need to say you should understand. If our Fan family wants to get rid of the situation of being attacked from two sides, we must get rid of it." Fan Yilin smiled bitterly, sitting on the steps and looking at the moon in the sky. "If our Fan family wants to get rid of it, it is destined to not be easy. We all know this, so today our decision is to sacrifice everyone, just to protect the fire seed, and you are the fire seed of our Fan family. Don't worry, in Chang'an we have prepared 100,000 taels of gold for you, as well as land and house deeds, enough for you to live without worries." "Then father, what about you? What about mother?" Fan Jin cried. He hurriedly asked. Fan Yilin smiled and said, "Everyone is destined to die. We only care about dying for a reason. Our Fan family has been controlled by the 5 families and 7 clans for a long time, and we have had enough. You know the current situation. Rather than waiting for death, why don't we find a chance to live in the current?" "Father, then why not cooperate with Zhang Feng? Zhang Feng should change." "Wrong, child." Fan Yilin smiled bitterly. They had thought of all kinds of ways. They also wanted to rely on Zhang Feng, but the result was that it would only speed up the destruction of the Fan family. "Jin, it is useless. We have thought of all kinds of opportunities. Unless Zhang Feng can reach a force that can compete with the 5 families and 7 clans in a short time. But now go and prepare immediately tomorrow morning. Find a way to reach Zhang Feng's gate before noon. I will let your second uncle go personally. They may break your legs, but I heard that Zhang Feng can regrow broken bones. You can rest assured." "Father, father!" However, no matter how Fan Jin shouted, Fan Yilin had already gone far. It seemed that it was already destined. This was just a notice to him. Chapter 2183. In fact, this kind of thing was very common in the Tang dynasty and before the Tang dynasty. If you wanted to survive safely, you had to bend your back. This was something that every family had to go through, because there was a terrifying existence above your head. The 7 families. It was like a knife. If you didn't obey, then you wouldn't be able to live. If you were willing to be a dog of a family, then you would have a bite of meat. This was the cruelty of the world. Usually, the 7 families had always been a superior existence, and the reason for their existence was to help the 7 families get rid of the people or things that they didn't like. They were equivalent to the thugs of the 7 families. Previously, nothing had happened, and they had been able to live on peacefully. At this time, the arrival of Zhang Feng made every family fall into a choice. Zhang Feng represented the imperial court, the imperial palace, and the Li royal family. What were the 7 families? They were huge enough to compete with the entire Tang dynasty. It was not that they did not know the purpose of Zhang Feng's visit to Jiangnan, as well as what had happened in Chang'an before. But even if they knew, Zhang Feng's arrival and his actions in Jiangnan were self-evident. The goal of the 5 families and 7 great clans was also very clear. They wanted to use them to infuriate Zhang Feng so that Zhang Feng would be the first to attack. In that case, the sky was high and the emperor was far away. Even if they, the cannon fodder, killed Zhang Feng, it would not cause any harm to the 5 families and 7 great clans. At worst, they could support a group of people. But were they stupid? They were not. At this time, if they wanted to escape such control, they could only be determined to break their wrist. Otherwise, even if Zhang Feng didn't kill them and the imperial court didn't kill them, the means of the 7 families would be 100 times crueler than the imperial court. Looking at his father slowly walking away. For the first time, Fan Jin felt so miserable. Even at this time, looking at the maids and servants in the night, he was very yearning. "Young master, it's cold. You should go to sleep." At this moment, a maidservant handed a cloak to Fan Jin. Fan Jin shook his head and looked at the deep sky before slowly walking into the room. As soon as he entered, Fan Jin looked at the maid. After a long time, he said, "Xiao Dai, how long have you been with me?" The maid named Xiao Dai was stunned. Seeing that Fan Jin's eyes were not right, she blushed and said, "I have been here since the young master was 13 years old. At that time, I was also 12 years old. Now, it has been 7 years." 7 years? Fan Jin nodded and then took out a banknote from the treasury of Chang and handed it to Little Butterfly. Xiao Dai turned pale with fright. This thing was very precious. It was so precious that there was almost no place to exchange it in Jiangnan. Moreover, she didn't know how much this thing was worth. Presumably, this thing was worth at least 100 strings of cash, right? "Young master, you are... Did Xiao Dai do something wrong?" Xiao Dai turned pale with fright and hurriedly knelt on the ground, crying. Fan Jin shook his head and helped Xiao Dai to get up. He said, "This is a banknote worth 1,000 strings of cash. You can exchange it at the provincial governor's mansion. Get up first and I will explain it to you." At this time, 3 words kept ringing in Xiao Dai's mind. 1,000 strings of cash. For her, this was like a big golden egg falling from the sky. "Thank you, young master. Thank you." Fan Jin waved his hand and said, "Don't be in a hurry to thank me. I still have something to tell you. Tomorrow, I will drive you out of the Fan family because you accidentally broke my jade pendant. Then you can take the opportunity to go to Chang'an. This is an address. After you go there, stay there temporarily. As for other things, don't ask for it for the time being. I will arrange 10 people to go with you tomorrow. Remember, don't ask what you shouldn't ask." Xiao Dai was so scared that her face turned pale. At that time, because of the family's poverty, her parents had no choice but to sell her to the Fan family. Then she disappeared without a trace. She simply stayed in the Fan family and followed Fan Jin, so she lived a very comfortable life. Fan Jin was also very good to her, but she didn't know why it suddenly became like this. She wanted to ask something, but in the end, she didn't say anything. She just nodded firmly and said, "Young master, don't worry. I will go tomorrow. Go." Fan Jin waved his hand and asked Xiao Dai to go out. Then he fell into deep thought again. He knew that there was a way to save the Fan family now, and that way was Zhang Feng. He also decided to go find Zhang Feng tomorrow and tell him all their secrets. In this way, maybe the Fan family still had a chance to survive. The fact that Zhang Feng was backed by the royal family was also confirmed news from the 5 families and 7 clans. Combined with the things that Zhang Feng had done in Chang'an City, it was enough to make him a concubine. Just one of those things was enough to make Zhang Feng an official. But now, what about Zhang Feng? Except for the identity of a viscount, he had nothing. This was very strange in itself, so Fan Jin was betting. He was betting that there was really Li Shimin behind Zhang Feng. In this case, the Fan family really had a chance to survive. But at the worst, the property in Chang'an could ensure that Fan Jin could live a stable life. Chapter 2184. In these 2 days, Zhang Feng's matter had spread like wildfire in Yuezhou. No one did not know about Zhang Feng's matter. On the west side of Yuezhou, in a small mansion close to the city wall. This was the once insufferably arrogant Yang family. They were the orphans of the former Sui Yang family. Before the Wagong army killed their way into the imperial city, these nobles had already fled to Jiangnan with a large number of treasures and valuables. These years, because they were afraid that Li Shimin would remember them, the Yang family had been very low-key in Jiangnan. However, for some unknown reason, they were targeted by the 5 families and 7 clans. In this way, their originally poor life became even worse. This poor life was because they were afraid of Li Shimin and then the 5 families and 7 clans. These years, although the 5 families and 7 clans had suppressed them, they could only endure it. It was not that they did not want to report it, but they did not dare to. If they reported it, the government would be the first to send the entire Yang family to the guillotine. At this moment, Zhang Feng's matter had spread like wildfire in Yuezhou and even the entire Jiangnan. It was impossible for them not to know about it, but what could they do? How could they dare to fart? They could only send people to keep an eye on Zhang Feng behind their backs. They did not ask for anything else. They only hoped that Zhang Feng would not remember and look for the Yang family. Report. Oh no. Oh my God. Zhang Feng has come to our house. At this moment, at the door of the Yang family, a breathless voice suddenly sounded. In an instant, a group of Yang family members who were in a state of panic instantly exploded. What? Bastard, what did you say? Who has come to our Yang family? At this moment, an old man in his 50s rushed out of the front hall with a crutch and asked. The clansman, who had just returned from outside, recounted everything that he had seen outside with tears and snot. This morning, I was squatting outside Zhang Feng's mansion to sell some corn. In the end, I met the servants of the Zhang family who came out to buy things. By chance, I heard them say that Zhang Feng is coming to visit our Yang family today. What? In an instant, all the Yang family members who were driven out were in an uproar. This is impossible. Why didn't Zhang Feng go to other families? Why did he come to our Yang family? Yes, this is against the rules. Logically speaking, he should go to the Yu family or the other families. Our Yang family has no money, no power, and no shops. We only have a few dozen mu of land left. Not good. At this moment, an old man slapped the ground and said, This bastard isn't here to chop off our heads, right? Speaking of which, everyone's expression changed drastically. Every night, they would even light 3 incense sticks for the Bodhisattva, praying that Li Shimin would never dream of the Yang family, and that the ministers of the imperial court would never remember them. Otherwise, if they were not careful, that bastard Li Shimin might issue an imperial edict. This group of imperial relatives of the previous dynasty would all be finished. Right at this moment. Suddenly, a servant came to report in a panic. Patriarch, bad news, bad news. Zhang Feng is here. He's already at the door. Hearing this, the people in the front hall of the Yang family were in an uproar. Everyone instinctively stood up and looked at the door in horror. How could they not know about Zhang Feng's matter? Although they had long been away from the imperial court and Chang'an city, they used to have connections in Chang'an. Moreover, they paid attention to every move in Chang, and every day, fearing that Chang'an would issue an imperial edict to kill them. Therefore, they had some guesses about Zhang Feng's identity. After Zhang Feng came to Jiangnan, the Yang family members did not even dare to step out of the house in order not to attract Zhang Feng's attention. They did not want to attract Zhang Feng's attention. But now, they couldn't even hide from him? In an instant, the people in the front hall came to their senses after a short period of shock. What should we do? Why did this devil come to our Yang family? Patriarch, we can tell the doorman that we're not here. Nonsense, isn't that obvious? If you say you're not here and anger Zhang Feng, won't you die even faster? Then tell me, what do you think we should do? Talk my ass. I saw Yu Qigong come 2 days ago with my own eyes. The Yang family is doomed. What? Suddenly, a short and fat man cried sadly, then sat on the ground and wailed. His cry made everyone's hair stand on end. At this time, the patriarch of the Yang family was also panicking. What did you say? Yu Qigong came to Jiangnan? The man stopped crying and said, yes, he saw Zhang Feng as soon as he came to Jiangnan. And he stayed in Zhang Feng's house for 6 hours. What? Everyone was in an uproar. Mother asterisk Kerr. Could it be that Li Er is really here to silence us? Oh my God. No, let's run. Let's go to Zhenhua. Let's go to Tubo. Yes, 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 let's run. At this time, the patriarch of the Yang family was annoyed and shouted, shut up, all of you. As he spoke, everyone stopped talking. At this time, the patriarch of the Yang family asked the servant, let me ask you, is the person who came with Zhang Feng a 7 feet tall, burly man with a curly beard? The manservant was stunned. After thinking for a long time, he said, I didn't see such a person. The one beside Zhang Feng seems to be a guard. He's quite tall, but he's dark and skinny. He walks with a slight limp. What? The patriarch of the Yang family was relieved. After wandering around the front hall for a while, he waved his hand and said, stay away, all of you. Since Zhang Feng is here, let's see what he wants. If he's really here, then we might have to make him stay. Chapter 2185. At this moment, Zhang Feng was waiting impatiently outside the door. The time it took to brew a cup of tea had passed. How long did it take to send a message? The house of the Yang family was very shabby. Although it still looked bright, there were cracks hidden under the moss and ivy in the yard. Dean, there's something wrong with the Yang family. Why don't we go back? Jia Daoren also noticed the abnormality and could not help but ask. Zhang Feng looked at Jia Daoren in surprise. He simply sat on the edge of the carriage beside Jia Daoren, lit a cigarette and handed it to Jia Daoren. He asked, Old Jia, why do I feel that the Yang family is strange? How can it not be strange? That's a ghost. Jia Daoren sighed and used his mouth to point at the guards at the entrance of the Yang family's residence. Dean, do you believe that even if a passerby went up and beat them up, they wouldn't dare to come out? This time, Zhang Feng really did not believe it. I don't believe it. In any case, the Yang family can be considered a large family. Now that someone has come to their door and slapped them in the face, let alone them, even a small farmer wouldn't be able to bear it, right? Jia Daoren shook his head and said, no, you're wrong. The Yang family really can tolerate it. This time, Zhang Feng's interest was piqued. He asked, tell me more about the Yang family. Seeing this, Jia Daoren told Zhang Feng about the glorious achievements of the Yang family. Because of their identity, the Yang clan has kept a low profile ever since they came to Yuezhou. They are very kind in all aspects. However, because of the change in the Xuanwu Gate, their identity has been known by the people of the 5 surnames and 7 clans. You should also know that this Yang clan is the place where the princes of the Sui dynasty escaped from the west. In order to avoid the current emperor, fearing that the emperor would kill them all. However, because the Yang family had a good relationship with the 5 families and 7 great clans, the Yang family's days were quite difficult. However, it was difficult in the literal sense. After all, the Yang family used to be a royal family. Even if they have fallen, the family has accumulated a lot of wealth. Therefore, in the face of oppression from all sides, they chose to endure. They don't even dare to report to the authorities for fear of attracting the emperor's attention and killing them. Speaking of this, Jia Daoren could not help but laugh. But what they don't know is that if the emperor really wanted to kill them, how could he let them live until now? Zhang Feng finally understood the ins and outs of the matter. He could not help but have a little interest in the Yang family. Mother *King scared? This kind of people can cooperate? It was as if he had been beaten until he was scared. At this time, the doorman who went in to deliver the message came to Zhang Feng's carriage. Young Master Zhang, Master invites you in. Zhang Feng and Jia Daoren and their eyes were full of surprise. But since they were already here, they couldn't just leave like this. As soon as they entered the residence, Zhang Feng was shocked by the scene in front of him. He saw that the walls of the Yang family's residence had long been damaged. Even the paint on the pillars was mottled. No one took care of it. Obviously, the Yang family's life was not good these years. But this was nothing. At this time, Zhang Feng found a strange thing. When these people looked at him, their eyes were full of vigilance. And when these people saw him, no one came up to ask. They even looked at him from afar and pointed. This made Zhang Feng's head full of question marks. Old Jia, these people, what's with their eyes? Also, why do I feel that they are guarding against thieves? Jia Daoren hurriedly explained. Dean, this may be because they are afraid of those families. So when they see someone coming, they will think that they are here to take advantage of their family. Damn, what else does their family have? Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. There was such a family in this world? There were really all kinds of strange things. Zhang Feng could not be bothered with these people. He found the front hall himself. The front hall was actually very easy to find. It had to be the place with the most people. At this time, outside the front hall, there was a circle of people. These people were dressed decently and seemed to be the people in charge of the Yang family. But these people did not wait for Zhang Feng to greet them. The moment they saw Zhang Feng, they all stepped aside to make a path. Zhang Feng was speechless and annoyed. I'm here to look for you and give you money. What's wrong with that? Other than your Yang family, if I spread the news, how many people would fight over it? With a depressed face, Zhang Feng and Jia Daoren entered the front hall. The moment they entered, they were greeted by a middle-aged man in his 50s. This must be Prince Zhang Feng? Zhang Feng clasped his fists and greeted that person. After entering and sitting down, before Zhang Feng could say anything, he suddenly felt that there were countless pairs of eyes peeking through the cracks of the door. This made Zhang Feng extremely unhappy. Damn it, did they really think that he was a thief? Seeing that Zhang Feng's expression was not too good, the Yang family head laughed and said, We have embarrassed ourselves in front of Prince Zhang. Our Yang family is really scared of being bullied. So our family members are like this. Chapter 2186. Zhang Feng rolled his eyes. However, Zhang Feng still had a sense of propriety when it came to matters of face. Since I've come to the Yang family this time, I'm sure that Patriarch Yang has already guessed some of my intentions, so I'll get straight to the point. This time, I'm here because I want to cooperate with the Yang family. After all, I've just arrived in Jiangnan, and I need to find some like-minded people to cooperate with. Of course, as long as Patriarch Yang pays attention to the market, you should know that I, Zhang Feng, am not lying. Almost everyone in Jiangnan and Chang knew about Zhang Feng's affairs. If they didn't know about Zhang Feng's affairs, they might as well kill themselves. However, why did Zhang Feng come to the Yang family and not the other families? Everything else aside, wasn't Zhang Feng's relationship with the Yu family very good? Why didn't he go to the Yu family? Why did he come to him instead? Was there some kind of conspiracy behind this? Patriarch Yang chuckled and cupped his fists. Prince Zhang, old man, I heard that you have a close relationship with the Yu family. You should go to the Yu family for this kind of thing. It's like keeping the goodies within the family. You? Zhang Feng waved his hand a little irritably. He was really irritated by people looking at him. This was the first time he had been upset by something like this. Imagine a family guarding against you like you were a thief, and they even stared at you. What kind of mentality was that? It would be strange if he didn't explode. It's like this. I've handed over Paper's business to them, but I have other businesses and many more. As for what they are, I won't say until Patriarch Yang agrees. However, you can rest assured that as long as I, Zhang Feng, am here, I guarantee that the Yang family will make more money in a short time than you can make in a lifetime. This Patriarch Yang would be lying if he said he wasn't tempted. This was like a pie falling from the sky. For the Yang family, this was undoubtedly timely help, but Patriarch Yang originally wanted to agree, but after thinking for a moment, the words got stuck in his throat. There were at least a few dozen families in Jiangnan. But why did Zhang Feng choose them? At this moment, the Yang family head's suspicions rose again. Putting everything else aside, the Yu family was the clan of Yu Qigong, the minister of China. Yu Qigong was quite close to Zhang Feng, and there was also the matter of Yu. Everyone in Jiangnan knew this. Why did they come to find him? Furthermore, he had heard that Zhang Feng was very close to the Zhao family and the Wu family. These two families' power and strength were among the best in Jiangnan. Why didn't he go to them instead of coming to him? There were too many strange things about this. The patriarch of the Yang family couldn't understand. Seeing Yang family head hesitate, Zhang Feng completely lost his patience and cupped his fists. Since Yang family head has some concerns, then just pretend this Zhang never came here today. Farewell. As he spoke, Zhang Feng left. This time, the Yang family head panicked again. It wasn't that he didn't want to work with Zhang Feng, but Zhang Feng's relationship with the Yang family was too frightening. Not to mention the imperial family behind him, just the Yu family and Yu Qigong were enough to make the Yang family's patriarch feel at ease working with them. Could it be that Zhang Feng really wants to use this opportunity to completely eliminate my Yang clan? But, looking at Zhang Feng, who was about to leave in a huff, the Yang family head was in a dilemma. If he offended Zhang Feng, it would probably be the end of the Yang family this time. At the thought of this, the Yang family head hurriedly stopped him. Prince Zhang, wait! Zhang Feng stopped. The Yang family head walked up with a face full of smiles. Prince Zhang, this is a serious matter, and it concerns the fate of the Yang family. The hesitation just now wasn't negligence, but old man has to consider the future of the Yang family. And, so what's your decision? Zhang Feng interrupted the Yang family head and asked. This ha ha ha. I hope Prince Zhang can give the Yang family some time. We have to discuss this properly. All right, in that case, I'm leaving. Zhang Feng glanced at the Yang family head, then looked at the Yang family members hiding behind the pillars outside the door, and waved his hand. I'm leaving. I won't see you out. Zhang Feng really had never seen such a person. He was just like mud. Originally, the Yang family had been bullied badly in Jiangnan, and Zhang Feng had thought that if he could lend them a hand, they might be able to help him in the future. But now it seemed that he had really thought too much. What kind of King courage was this? How could he play with a hammer? Once out of the Yang residence, Jia Daoren saw that Zhang Feng's expression wasn't good, so he didn't dare to disturb him along the way, and hurriedly drove the carriage back to the mansion. As soon as he came back, he saw Yu Qigong basking in the sun in the courtyard, and beside him, there were actually two little maids, attentively lighting Yu Qigong's cigarette and serving him wine. Seeing this scene, Zhang Feng was a little jealous. Jia Daoren hurriedly had someone bring up a reclining chair for Zhang Feng to sit down. At this time, Yu Qigong opened his eyes, and when he saw Zhang Feng's appearance, he was instantly shocked. Hua! What happened to you? Chapter 2187. What's wrong with that? I went to the Yang family today, and damn it, I was so angry that I wanted to kill him. Yu Qigong chuckled. Do you want me to do it? I promise I won't leave any traces behind. Zhang Feng saw that Yu Qigong wasn't joking, so he waved his hand. Forget it, I have my own plans. Also, this Yang family is really too much. They're always afraid that the emperor wants to kill them. When Yu Qigong heard that, he instantly understood the gist of it too. He laughed loudly and said, This Yang family is really a marvel. If the emperor really wanted to kill them, he would have issued an edict long ago. They think that the emperor won't know if they hide in Jiangnan? Zhang Feng glanced at Yu Qigong. You even know that? Are you a roundworm in the emperor's stomach? Roundworm? What's a roundworm? Yu Qigong was stunned as he looked at Zhang Feng's stomach. Zhang Feng couldn't be bothered to explain. Go on. Yu Qigong chuckled. The emperor is benevolent and has already issued an edict to pardon the people of the previous dynasty. However, this Yang family thinks that the emperor wants to harm them and wants to lure them out, so they haven't dared to show their faces. Zhang Feng knew about this as well. After hearing Yu Qigong's explanation, Zhang Feng's anger dissipated and he regained his intelligence. Who was Li Shimin? Would he pick up a butcher's knife for someone from the previous dynasty? After the emperor ascended to the throne, he personally issued a ban on knives. In other words, if he didn't come across something that angered the heavens, he wouldn't use his knife. And in history, Li Shimin was indeed the same. Even when the crown prince and the fourth prince tried to force him to abdicate, he didn't kill his two sons. All of this was to stabilize the laws of the court and the world. Just as old Yu had said, the land under the heavens belonged to the emperor. Although Jiangnan was far from the emperor's eyes, It was still part of the Tang dynasty. Therefore, the Yang family thought that they were hiding from Li Shimin. But little did they know that Li Shimin didn't even bother to look at them. Zhang Feng shook his head and said, "Why are you here? Didn't I ask you to take care of business matters?" Yu Qigong looked at Zhang Feng like he was looking at an idiot. "You really don't know? The Yang family is a mad dog. How could he not know of your reputation in Jiangnan? Let me tell you, you being able to walk out of the Yang family today is already a blessing from the heavens. Why do you think I'm here?" Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. Could it be that going to the Yang family was a mistake? Seeing that Zhang Feng didn't believe him, Yu Qigong shook his head and said, "You have to believe me. The Yang family has been bullied badly in Jiangnan. Think about the remnants of the previous dynasty. This kind of thing would be feared in any dynasty. So in Jiangnan, I heard from Lord Zhongsun that the emperor had arranged at least 5 groups of people to keep an eye on him. In the beginning, the Yang family was well behaved, but after the Xuanwu Gate and the Wei River Alliance, they took action. But before Chang and could do anything, they were targeted by the people of the 5 surnames and 7 clans. Therefore, the Yang family has been bullied by the people of the 5 surnames and 7 clans all these years. Their miserable state is simply unbearable to look at. So, when you went there today, you were always suspicious, right?" Hearing this, Zhang Feng suddenly understood. When this person was forced into a corner, he really was. Zhang Feng couldn't help but feel a chill run down his back. Damn it, it's better that I don't go personally in the future. If only Iron Bull and the others were here, things would be much easier. But you don't have to worry. The Yang family isn't that daring. They're just frightened birds. I was just joking with you. Right, let's talk about serious matters. On the way here, I saw a lot of students going to Chang'an Hotel. What's going on? What kind of trick are you playing now? And what's with that perfume? How come I heard that a lot of women were beaten to death for stealing land deeds to buy perfume? Zhang Feng was shocked. Really? He really didn't know about this. Moreover, he hadn't touched the perfume business recently because he wanted to put everything on the auction. He wanted to make a name for the auction. But these people were a little too crazy, weren't they? It was hard for him to imagine that perfume had a fatal attraction to these people. Yu Qigong saw that Zhang Feng was playing dumb again, so he shook his head speechlessly. I heard it with my own ears. Also, do you know how much of a ruckus there is over that perfume of yours? Some people even say it's more expensive than gold. Gold. In this era, only the imperial court and those merchants who had important dealings with the imperial court could use it. It was also used as a currency for trade between countries. One could imagine how precious this thing was. Even on the market, 1 tael of gold was worth at least 10,000 coins. Then this perfume. Zhang Feng couldn't help but feel a burst of joy in his heart. Old you, we have a big deal. Do you want to play with us? Yu Qigong already knew that Zhang Feng was up to no good. When he heard what he said with a look of disdain, "Don't tell me it's perfume. Lao Tzu won't do such a sissy thing." Chapter 2188. Just as the two were chatting, Yu Qinghan ran into the front door. Yu Suqian panted as he ran into the front hall. When he saw the cold water on Zhang Feng's table, he picked it up and gulped it down. After drinking it, Yu Qinghan said excitedly, "Brother Zhang, great news! What's the matter?" Zhang Feng was also shocked by Yu Qinghan's appearance. Although Yu Qigong's face was full of displeasure, he didn't take it seriously. Yu Qinghan saw the situation and clapped his hands outside the door. Then, 2 servants carried a large basket into the front hall. The basket was filled with none other than the white paper that had just been made. But this paper, it was as thin as a cicada's wing, and it was actually soft. Hiss, isn't this toilet paper? Zhang Feng really remembered this thing. When he was in Shao Mountain, he made some. He originally wanted to mass-produce it, but in the end, he was called a prodigal by a few scholars, so he gave up. But he didn't expect this guy to make toilet paper at this time. "Didn't I ask you to make white paper? Look at what you've made." Zhang Feng pulled the toilet paper and stuck it on Yu Qinghan's face. Yu Qinghan smiled and said, "Brother Zhang, you don't know this." Zhang Feng also laughed out of anger. It wasn't that he couldn't make toilet paper, but there was still 1 or 2 days before the auction. He was anxious to wait for this batch of white paper to fill the front of the auction. But this guy actually made this thing for him. How could this not make Zhang Feng angry? Yu Qigong also frowned slightly. He also owned 10% of the property of white paper. He also knew the quality of white paper. At this time, seeing such a thin piece of white paper, Yu Qigong even had an illusion. Even if this thing was thrown into water, it would melt instantly, right? This thing could also be called paper? Yu Qinghan saw that the two people's expressions weren't right. He shrank his neck and said aggrievedly, "Well, Fengzi, listen to me first. This white paper I originally wanted to do as you said, but I thought about it. Think about it. Even if there are 50 pieces of white paper, it will sell for 1,000 strings of coins. But if we make 500 pieces of white paper and sell it for 1,000 strings of coins, won't there be more people buying it? And think about it. If there are more of us, those poor people can afford it. 500 pieces is 1,000 strings of coins. Then 50 pieces will be 100 strings of coins. And I've tried it. Although this white paper is a little thin, if it's used properly and the bark is placed under the white paper, it should be able to write." When he said this, Zhang Feng was relieved. It turned out that this guy wasn't thinking of cutting corners, but was thinking of how to maximize his business. He didn't know the real use of this toilet paper. "You really think so?" Zhang Feng asked. "How could you Suqian dare to lie?" He patted his chest and guaranteed, which made Zhang Feng calm down. "How much of this kind of paper did you make?" "About 500 jeans." Zhang Feng nodded and said, "So, you send me all this paper. This paper can't be sold. I have great use for it. Also, I will give you 500 jeans of white paper before the auction. Otherwise, I will throw the white paper business to others." "Don't, brother. I will do it." Yu Suqian heard this and his face changed instantly. The profits of the white paper had made the entire Yu family crazy. The Yu family was even ready to abandon other industries and focus on the production and sales of white paper. At this time, if Zhang Feng handed this matter to others, it would be strange if the people in the family didn't skin him alive. Yu Suqian was about to leave, but he looked at the wine and meat on the table and said with a smile, "Fengzi, before I leave, can I eat a little? I haven't eaten anything since last night because of this white paper." "Old Yu, he is really your brother. He has the same virtue as you." Okay. After eating, hurry up and do it. Don't delay the important matter." Zhang Feng said half-jokingly. In fact, when the toilet paper came out, Zhang Feng thought of a better way to use it. Yu Suqian was talking about a way. In this era, there were many people who couldn't afford paper. It was a good choice to buy 50 pieces of this paper for 100 copper coins. In terms of sales, Yu Suqian really did something he didn't expect. And what was the most important point? It was that the toilet paper could be used for meals and after the toilet. This was simply a Kuei treasure. After eating for a while, Yu Suqian also drank until he was dizzy. At this time, Zhang Feng and Yu Qigong were discussing the perfume. Hearing this, Yu Suqian, who was full, picked up a cigarette in front of Zhang Feng and lit it. He took a sip and said, "That, cousin, you said that perfume? You don't know the beauty of this thing. Last night, did you know that the waist of the Zhao family actually rose up and took the lead of the Qingcue pavilion? Last night, those who got the perfume all went crazy. Everyone didn't know the use of the perfume before, but last night, almost everyone who got the perfume went to the Qingcue pavilion. I heard that the dozen Persian women in the Qingcue pavilion bought it all. And he. Chapter 2189. Yu Qigong's eyes widened when he heard this. "What did you say?" Regardless of the era, men had always been highly concerned about the problems of men, especially dukes like them, who said that there was only one wife in the family, but there were countless concubines. There was even a saying among the people that whoever had more concubines would be honored. Even Li Shimin would laugh when he heard this and praise him for being strong despite his age. How could men who didn't want to admit defeat be willing to give up? However, there were exceptions. For example, a few generals who feared their wives like tigers. Although in the fief, the women who were bought and captured from the western regions and Turkic Khaganate were distributed by them, one could imagine how many there were. Of course, in the Chang and local government or the ancestral house, they wouldn't dare to bring these women back. Therefore, most of the time, they would stay in the station and not come out unless it was a last resort. Every year, when the emperor was happy, he might give them some women from the western regions as tribute. This was something that could be done at this time. After all, Li Shimin at this time, besides money and official positions, what else could he reward? There were also some courageous men who weren't afraid of their wives and those civil officials. It was simply to the extent of madness. Their families could easily catch up with the harem. One could imagine how much they were obsessed with this thing, and how crazy they were when they found out that locusts could strengthen their virility. One could imagine how terrifying this thing would be once it was known to them. Zhang Feng touched his chin and looked at the tangled Yuqigong. Old you, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't hold it in. He was originally wondering if he should ask Zhang Feng for some. He was also weighing what would happen if Yu Suqin found out and it reached his wife's ears. Now that he heard Zhang Feng say this, he immediately put on a gentleman's appearance. Feng Zi, you're too much. Lao Tzu, I'm upright in my line of work, and I don't need this kind of thing. These are the toys that those little bastards like. Even if women like them, they would like mighty and majestic men like me. Zhang Feng resisted the urge to laugh and waved his hand. All right. Old you, you're awesome. Yu Suqin was intimidated by Yu Qigong and looked at him with a pair of envious eyes. Cousin, you really are the war god of our Yu family. Come. Let me give you a toast. War god? The corners of Yu Qigong's mouth twitched, but he still raised his head and downed a cup of wine. You just said that this thing really has that kind of miraculous effect. Yu Qigong couldn't help but ask. Yu Suqin was stunned. Yu Qigong hurriedly found an excuse. Well, isn't this related to business? I just want to know more about it so that it can help my business, right? I see. Yu Suqin gave a thumbs up and then said to Yu Qigong, I'll tell you, cousin, I've tried this thing and it's really awesome. You don't know, but last night at the apricot blossom house not far from our Yu family, the fourth concubine, yes, fourth brother Yu, the one I call fourth uncle, is already over 60 years old. Last night, he actually... Yu Qigong was stunned. Zhang Feng also became interested and asked, What happened to him last night? Yu Suqin laughed mischievously and whispered, Last night, he actually remarried, and it's the procuress of the apricot blossom house. What? Yu Qigong turned pale with fright. Hasn't that old thing been here for more than 10 years? Why is he remarrying now? And what kind of status does our Yu family have to marry a brothel procuress? Preposterous. Simply preposterous. Go back and tell your father that I said that if fourth brother insists on marrying, find him a match. If not, give him a sum of money and kick him out of the Yu family. Yu Suqin couldn't help but turn pale with fright. He hurriedly got up. I know. Zhang Feng became interested and said to Yu Qigong, I say, old Yu, he's still your fourth uncle. Are you so cruel to kick him out? Yu Qigong shook his head and said, This isn't the same. If fourth uncle was just playing around, then it wouldn't be a problem. But this marriage is related to our Yu family's face. If word got out that the Yu family's fourth master remarried and married a brothel madam, then if word got out, it would be embarrassing. Hearing this, Zhang Feng didn't speak anymore. This was true. You're already over 60 years old. At this age, your words and deeds count in the family. At this time, remarrying was a big deal. If you find a prostitute, it couldn't be justified anywhere. Zhang Feng laughed. Okay, let's drink. Let's not talk about unhappy things. Come, let's drink. Wait. Yu Suqin dizzily held Zhang Feng's hand and smiled. Brother-in-law, don't be in a hurry to drink this cup of wine. I still have something important to tell you. Chapter 2190. Zhang Feng was stunned and asked, What's the matter? Brother-in-law, do you want a wife? Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. Yu Qigong was also dumbfounded. Looking at the smirking Yu Suqin, they asked at the same time, What did you say? I asked you if you want a wife? F***ck your uncle. You better explain it clearly. Zhang Feng's hair stood on end. Although the three women were in the back hall at this moment, there were too many servants in the house. Too many people meant too many mouths. If they let it slip, it would be troublesome. Yu Suqian saw that Zhang Feng was anxious. He shrank his neck and muttered, I didn't say it. I also heard it. Why are you so anxious? If you have the ability, go find the Zhao family and the Wu family. When Zhang Feng heard that it was these two families again, he guessed most of it. He asked, explain it clearly. What's going on? It's like this. Didn't you give some perfume to a few families last time? These people also saw the benefits of the perfume. However, the people behind them seemed to be very hostile to you. Therefore, they thought of a way, which is a honey trap. As for the people behind Yu Suqian's words, Zhang Feng knew that he was talking about the 5 surnames and 7 major families. These people were originally the pawns of the 5 surnames and 7 major families. Since he came to Jiangnan, they did not stop making trouble and inquiring about things. However, the meaning changed after she spread the news about the white paper and the perfume. It turned out that these people wanted to please both sides. This idea was really good. As for the identity of Wu Menair, Zhao Yu and Zhao Ru Zhang Feng was also clear. In addition, Yu Yu told him these unknown things every night. How could Zhang Feng not know this? The 2 women of the Yu family had long been fancied by a licentious young master from the Li family in Zhao County. It seemed that after this matter was solved, he would agree to the marriage between the 2 families. This was equivalent to a promise. As for Wu Menair from the Wu family, she was more miserable. It was said that a man in his 50s from the Zheng family of Xingyang had taken a fancy to her. This might be the fate of these women. In this dynasty, almost all of them would become sacrifices for the family's interests. But at this time, after Yu Suqian's words, Zhang Feng couldn't help but pity these women. Once they were born, they were destined to have a miserable life. However, these were not things that Zhang Feng could control. Most importantly, these people actually wanted to use Wu Man'er and the 2 girls from the Zhao clan to attack him. Obviously, they didn't have any good intentions. He wanted to further increase the hatred. If he really was a lecher, then unfortunately he would definitely become a sacrifice, and the price would be his everything. One could only imagine how vicious these people's hearts were. After Yu Suqian explained for a while, Yu Qigong couldn't help but feel a little moved. Feng Zi, I've also seen those 3 girls, but to be honest, their looks are really good. How about, get lost? Zhang Feng glared at them. Am I that lustful in your hearts? This is clearly a trap. Okay? If I were the 2 of you, then this time I would really die here, and it would be very fast. Yu Suqian's face changed. No way, how can you use meat buns as bait? This is... Zhang Feng was too lazy to explain anything. He waved his hand and said, don't mention this kind of thing anymore. This is a conspiracy. You 2 should tighten your belts. If there's a problem here, then Lao Tzu may really break off relations with you for big things. Hearing this, Yu Suqian's face changed. Okay, I know. Right? There's one more thing I need to tell you. You have to be careful. I heard that Madame Zhao and Wu Menair's mother are looking for some medicine these 2 days. They said that they will wait for the night before the auction to find you and then drug you. How could they do this? Zhang Feng was instantly stunned. But thinking about it, they were even willing to sacrifice their daughter. How could they not think of this matter? In an instant, Zhang Feng's face couldn't help but become gloomy. Then, how did these women react to this matter? Yu Suqian thought for a long time in a daze before slapping his forehead. I remember now. Just now on the street, a woman handed me something. I took a look and it turned out to be 2 letters for you. Take a look. Yu Suqian took out 2 crumpled letters from his sleeve and handed them to Zhang Feng. There were a few very simple words on it. To Zhang Feng. Opening the letter, it confirmed Zhang Feng's guess. These 2 letters were sent by Zhao Yu's mother and Wu Menair's mother. The general meaning was that if Zhang Feng liked them, he could take their daughters and leave this place. After that, whatever Zhang Feng wanted, they would do their best to help. Even if he didn't like them, they would ask Zhang Feng to save their daughters. They didn't want their daughters to be buried with them. After reading the letter, Zhang Feng's heart couldn't calm down for a long time. A woman was weak, but a mother was strong. This was an immutable common sense. They were also clear about Zhang Feng's origin and what he was going to do. They were also clear about what their family members were doing. Therefore, in a last resort, they chose to cooperate with Zhang Feng at all costs. The price was to ensure the safety of their daughters. Chapter 2191. When he thought of this, Zhang Feng suddenly had a bold idea. He then looked thoughtfully at Yuqigong and said, "Old Yu, I have a bold idea, but I don't know if I should say it." Yuqigong was a crude man. He could think of more than 100 ways to go into battle and kill enemies, but something like this gave Yuqigong a headache. Seeing Zhang Feng's expectant eyes, Yuqigong slowly dug his nose and said, "Speak." The rebuffed Zhang Feng ignored Yuqigong and thought for a long time before saying, "I want to open a girls' class." "What? Girls' class?" "Yes, girls' class." Zhang Feng nodded in response. Yuqigong heard this clearly, but he was even more confused. "What's a girls' class?" "The women's class is an academy set up by the majority of women. Together, they study the female ethics that Empress Zhangsun advocates." "What? Female virtues? What's that?" Zhang Feng helplessly explained. "Do you still remember the female virtues that Empress Zhangsun wrote? The so-called female virtues are the virtues that women possess. It includes moral character, self-cultivation, prudence in speech, and prudence in action. Have you heard of the 3 obedience and 4 virtues?" How could Yuqigong not know of this matter? When the Empress book was published, even Grand Tutor Li Gang was full of praise. Even Yu Shinan and Ouyang Sun were strongly advocating that it be promoted among the common people. But it was a pity. In the end, the female virtues was only circulated among the high officials and nobles, as well as among the clans. Based on what everyone said, how could the Empress book be sullied by the common people? Therefore, up until now, apart from the high-ranking officials and wealthy merchants who more or less knew a little about it, the rest of the people didn't know about it. That was why Yuqigong was so surprised when Zhang Feng mentioned the principles for women. Seeing Yuqigong's perplexed expression, Zhang Feng shook his head and explained, "There are 3 obedience and 4 virtues. The 3 obedience refer to the father, the husband, and the son. The 4 virtues refer to moral character, speech, appearance, and family management. I set up this academy to train them to improve their self-cultivation, to learn more knowledge, and to become more outstanding." Hearing Zhang Feng's words, Yuqigong's face was still filled with confusion. How could an uncouth man like him understand the matters of a woman's home? Puzzled, he asked, "Feng Zi, I say, you already opened a White Deer Academy, and you still think it's not enough? Why did you come all the way to Jiangnan to open a women's academy? Are you having a fever? What are you trying to do?" Zhang Feng said angrily, "You're the one with the fever. I have my own reasons. What do you know? Opening a women's class is to learn the female virtues thought highly of by the Empress. The daughters and wives of the wealthy merchants and clans can only come into contact with the surface of female virtues. How can the majority of people come into contact with this? But think about it carefully. Apart from these people, which wealthy merchant in Jiangnan doesn't have a few concubines? What I want to do is to gather those people who can't come into contact with me and come to my academy to learn and improve themselves. Let them come to the academy to learn etiquette. They have to behave in a dignified manner, speak in a proper manner, dress in a proper manner, and dress in a proper manner. In terms of color, style, accessories, and so on, they have to put on makeup and make themselves more beautiful. They have to be able to respect themselves and others in social interactions. Which woman doesn't love beauty nowadays? Also, women's physiology and hygiene will be taught in the course. Such a good thing, don't you think it's good?" Hearing Zhang Feng's enthusiastic talk, Yuqigong was incomparably shocked. There were indeed many wealthy merchants in the Jiangnan area, and each of them had at least 10 concubines. Looking at the entire Tang dynasty, just how many were there? Heavens, what was this brat doing? If all the women in the world came to learn female virtues, and Feng Zi was holding back something, if something went wrong, then the consequences would be how many high-ranking officials, wealthy merchants, family heads, or even men would complain to the emperor. Wouldn't it be a mess? Besides, which family didn't have dozens of women? If these women all learned to be smart, then wouldn't they no longer have a stable life? Thinking of this, Yu Qigong's expression instantly changed. Feng Zi, let's talk things out. We can't mess around. If you Shernan and Lao Li find out about this, won't they be angered to death? Although you're teaching women, do you know who it is that can't stand it the most? It's their men. Won't you cause trouble if you do this? Zhang Feng looked at Yu Qigong with a gentle expression and said, "What did I do? I opened a women's academy to promote the Empress' female virtues. What crime did I commit? What are you thinking about every day? Besides, our women's class is mainly aimed at the 5 families and 7 clans. Why are you so anxious?" Yu Qigong heard this and asked suspiciously, "So, you don't have any other thoughts?" Zhang Feng rolled his eyes. "Isn't Lao Tzu doing this to get rid of the 5 families and 7 clans and the Guanlong aristocrats? Otherwise, do you think I'm so bored?" Chapter 2192. I'll be honest with you. Learning female virtues is fake. Let them learn how to live a refined life, make up, and spend money. As long as I can evoke their desire to compete for fame and fortune. Think about it. Will their family have a good time? Hiss. Yu Qigong couldn't help but gasp. Feng Zi, are you sure you're only targeting the 5 surnames and 7 major families? Zhang Feng didn't speak and pointed to the cigarette box on the table. Yu Suqian tactfully lit one for Zhang Feng and Yu Qigong. For Yu Suqian, the words of these 2 people were simply priceless treasures. If it was anywhere else, he wouldn't be able to listen even if he paid for it. It was simply too damn exciting. Zhang Feng took a deep breath and then said, "Of course, the women's class will definitely be opened, but this isn't something I need to worry about. I will naturally arrange for people to do it later. As for the women's class, first, I can publicize the female virtues that the Empress admires. Second, I can promote my new perfume product, open the Jiangnan market, and monopolize the market economy. Third, this news will definitely make some big families restless. Their wives and daughters will be able to suppress their desire for beauty and will definitely come to my college to sign up. At that time, I can just get some information from their mouths. Why not?" Zhang Feng said with a heavy heart. When Yu Qigong heard this, he couldn't help but admire Zhang Feng. This kid had great foresight. He could only blame himself for being too rash. He then asked curiously, "You opened a women's college. Are you going to manage it as a man? Aren't you afraid of those rich businessmen tearing you apart? Aren't you afraid of being gossiped about?" After hearing old Yu's words, Zhang Feng looked helpless. "Old Yu, do you think I'm an idiot?" Yu Qigong scratched his head and said, "It seems that you don't." Zhang Feng shrugged. "So, I already have a candidate. Jing Shu is good at music and knows court etiquette. Naturally, she is familiar with female virtues. Yu Yao is familiar with needlework. During this time, she has a lot of experience in hygiene, dressing, and the production of soap and perfume. She is also the best candidate. As for Yuer, she has walked in the intricate forces since childhood. You both know her ability, so you want the 3 of them to open a women's class?" Yu Qigong and Yu Qisuqian couldn't help but exclaim at the same time. Yu Qigong knew that Jingshu's ability was terrifying. Needless to say, Zhang Yuyao's ability was not to be underestimated. Those who could become Zhang Feng naturally had their own strengths. Otherwise, even if the old scholar was trying to matchmake them, the emperor would definitely not agree, because she didn't deserve it. However, it was clear that Zhang Yuyao had met Li Shimon's standards. As for Jingshu, it was needless to say. Yu Qi on the other hand, was well-educated and well-versed in the ways of dealing with people. Her etiquette and manners were even more unquestionable. She was able to move freely among the various powers and even manage the large Yu family in an orderly manner. It was clear that she was capable. At this time, Yu Suqian saw that both of them were silent, so he hurriedly said, "Brother-in-law's move is really wonderful. Not only did it publicize the Empress female ethics culture, But it also exposed some secrets of the 5 clans and 7 watches, so that they would have problems from their own roots. It's really a clever move. Now, these women will do anything for a face. It's all for survival, to become more beautiful, and to gain favor. This women's college not only saved millions of women in Tang, but also opened up the perfume market. In this way, the price of perfume will not only soar, but also rise to an extremely terrifying level. Yu Qigong heard this and leaned over to Yu Suqian, staring at him and said, "You brat, how did you know? Also, isn't it just a little drop of water? Is it that exaggerated?" Looking at the big black face that leaned over, Yu Suqian was shocked and said tremblingly, "The girls in the brothel are all like this. They dress up to attract customers. Some even spend a lot of money for a customer. Their monthly spending on cosmetics is equal to more than half of their monthly income. Their face is their rice bowl, so they can't do without these things." Now, in every clan or rich merchant's house, who doesn't have 3 wives and 4 concubines? There are too many women to count. These women are also human. They all want to survive, so they have to constantly change themselves to become more beautiful and decent. Only then can they climb up the ladder and gain favor from those rich merchants. Take the mother and daughter of the Zhao family and the mother and daughter of the Wu family as an example. They also want to survive, so they came to find brother-in-law to cooperate and seek a way to survive. Otherwise, what awaits them is only destruction. Hearing this, Yu Qigong suddenly came to a realization. He opened his mouth and said, "Aya Feng Zi, you're scheming to monopolize the hearts of all the middle-aged and elderly women, and then take their daughters. Not bad, kid." When Zhang Feng heard Yu Qigong's words, he almost choked on the cigarette he was smoking. Zhang Feng was so angry that he wanted to beat him up, but he couldn't. He could only pretend that he didn't hear it. When Yu Qigong was done, Zhang Feng said slowly, "Vulgar. You old brat, what are you thinking about all day? Am I that kind of person?" Yu Suqian watched Yu Qigong being ridiculed by Zhang Feng and almost laughed out loud. In the end, he was scared by Yu Qigong's gaze and didn't dare to speak. Zhang Feng continued, "In fact, I am using these women's love for beauty and vanity to let more people know about the perfume and its preciousness to promote our products. Thus, the perfume and soap's effect of strengthening yang energy and moisturizing skin can be spread. This can achieve our ultimate goal. It is more convincing than you talking to those men." Chapter 2193. After listening to Zhang Feng's words, Yu Qigong suddenly felt admiration for this kid. He was an indispensable talent. Yu Suqian flattered, "That's right. My brother-in-law's wisdom is unquestionable. Your business skills are unparalleled. Even Shen Wansan from the previous dynasty can't compare to my brother-in-law. Go away. No one will think you're a mute if you don't speak. Flattery is enough," Zhang Feng said impatiently. Yu Qigong looked at Zhang Feng with a dignified face and said faintly, "If you do this, what if the people of the 5 clans and 7 kingdoms make a move in advance?" Make a move in advance? I'm waiting for them to make a move. This way, the current emperor will have a reason to suppress them and pull out this thorn in his heart. If they dare to make a move, then I have a reason to make them restless. I'll use the world's mouth and Empress Jiangxuan's principles for women to teach them what filial piety is. Zhang Feng revealed an evil smile and said faintly. After listening to Zhang Feng's complete plan, Yu Qigong gave Zhang Feng a thumbs up and praised, "Good boy. You're really good. Old man can't help but admire you from the bottom of my heart." Yu Suqian's face was full of pride. He respected and admired his brother-in-law's wisdom and resourcefulness. Zhang Feng took a deep breath and said faintly, "You guys, just wait to get rich. How much money can this little droplet make? Don't try to scare this old man. Although I'm a boor, I'm not so ignorant as to not understand this." Yu Qigong said disdainfully. Seeing that Yu Qigong didn't believe him, Zhang Feng continued to explain, "Old Yu, don't underestimate this little thing. There are countless clans and wealthy merchants in the Jiangnan area, and every one of them has at least a dozen concubines. Everyone has a love for beauty, and women are very vain and competitive. I only take out 5 bottles a day, and if there's none left, then it's over. You have to buy it with money. If you don't have money, you can exchange it with useful clues. It's equivalent to letting these women advertise the perfumes and soaps, and you can also obtain useful information about the 5 races and 7 tribes. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Do you think it's possible not to make money? When Yu Suchin heard that there was money to be made, he immediately agreed. That's right. This is the same as a chain reaction. No woman will allow herself to be more beautiful than herself. They will inevitably come one after another to compete with each other. The perfume's reputation will spread out. Gradually, the people from the 5 clans and 7 tribes will be able to hold themselves back and will take action. Yu Qigong said in surprise. What? How could this little thing be so profitable? Then we're rich. Seeing Yu Qigong's shocked expression, Zhang Feng couldn't help but say, You're a businessman. I'm really worried for you. Yu Qigong scratched his head and smiled foolishly. He picked up the wine on the table and said, Let's not talk about it anymore. Drink up. At the same time, Xiao Chui brought the wine to the door. Just as she was about to push the door open, she was stopped by the guards. Master is discussing matters inside. No one is allowed to enter. One of the guards saw that it was Xiao Chui. He had a crush on Xiao Chui, so he pulled Xiao Chui to the side and said flatteringly, Master is discussing important matters inside, so no one is allowed to enter for the time being. When Xiao Chui heard this, she couldn't help but ask curiously, What important matters? You're making it sound so mysterious. The guard puffed out his chest and pretended to say, You don't know, but I heard it clearly. Master is going to open a women's class in the Jiangnan area. Xiao Chui said in surprise. What? Women's class? What's that for? The guard saw Xiao Chui looking at him expectantly, so he said proudly, It's to set up a women's class and let all the women learn the Empress's principles for women. Xiao Chui was shocked. Wasn't principles for women something that only those high officials and noble madams could come into contact with? What was Master trying to do? Thinking of this, Xiao Chui hurried to the backyard. When the guard saw that Xiao Chui was about to leave, he kept calling Xiao Chui. But Xiao Chui's mind was filled with Master opening a women's class to spread principles for women, so she couldn't hear anything. Just as Xiao Chui was in a trance thinking about things, she accidentally bumped into Yu Yao, who was about to go find Master, and the wine was knocked to the ground. With a crash, Xiao Yu's mind shook and she instantly woke up. She looked at Yu Yao and apologized. I'm sorry, young miss. I didn't do it on purpose. Yu Yao saw that Xiao Chui was in a daze and muttering something, so she went forward and asked, Didn't you bring wine to Master? Why did you come back? Xiao Chui said with a flustered expression. It's like this, young miss. Master is discussing matters in his room and no one is allowed to disturb him. When Yu Yao heard this, she felt that something was wrong. What time was it? What were they talking about for so long? So she asked, Xiao Chui, did you hear anything? Xiao Chui looked around. Seeing that no one was around, she went forward and whispered in Yu Yao's ear, Young miss, Master wants to open a women's class in Jiangnan. Yu Yao was shocked. Women's class? What were they going to do? It was better to discuss with her sisters first. Thinking of this, she pulled Xiao Chui into the room. When they entered the room, Jing Shu and Yue were talking about something. Suddenly, they saw Yu Yao and Xiao Chui, who came in hurriedly. They couldn't help but ask, Why are you two so nervous? What happened? Yu Yao looked at Xiao Chui and signaled for her to tell them what she heard. Xiao Chui said in a panic, Young miss, Miss Jing Shu, Miss Yue, Master wants to open a women's class in Jiangnan. Jing Shu and Yue were shocked. They looked at Xiao Chui in disbelief and asked with a serious face, Xiao Chui, did you hear it clearly? Xiao Chui said firmly, I heard it clearly. Master wants to open a women's class in Jiangnan and recruit women to come here to learn principles for women written by the Empress. What? Open a women's class? Chapter 2194. After hearing Xiao Chui's words, Yue said angrily, Xiao Chui, go and call someone to bring Master back. Look at the time and he's still drinking. He's going to turn the world upside down. After Xiao Chui heard the order, she left the backyard to find someone to call Master. Jingshu said leisurely. I remember Master mentioned this when he was in Chang'an. Moreover, when he was at Chang'an University, Prince Zhang had also opened a female class in the university, mainly to teach some etiquette and other things. However, because of other things, it was delayed. Could it be that he came to Jiangnan this time for this matter? Xiao Yu didn't care so much and said angrily, "Let's see how he will deal with him when he comes back." At the same time, Zhang Feng and the others were drinking to their heart's content when there was a sudden knock on the door. "Come in," Yu Qigong said faintly. At this time, Zhang Feng was already drunk and unconscious. "Sir, Miss Yu ordered me to call Master back to his room to rest. Don't you have any eyesight?" Burp. "It's not easy to come to Jiangnan. What's wrong with drinking with my brother? Why are there so many things? I'm not going back," Zhang Feng said as he staggered while holding the wine jar and drinking. The guard said shakily, "Master, forgive me for not being able to comply. Miss Yu wants me to bring Master back. Even if I have to carry him back, I have to carry him back." Yu Qigong and Yu Suqian looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh secretly. Okay. Fengzi, let's stop drinking today. Let's continue another day. Come, find a few people to carry your master down. Yes. Then a few guards came in and carried Zhang Feng to the backyard. Along the way, Zhang Feng kept muttering, "Come, keep drinking." A moment later, the guards carried Zhang Feng to the door of the backyard and turned to leave. Zhang Feng staggered as he pushed open the door. After entering the room, he went straight to the big bed and stumbled onto it. When the three women saw the drunk Zhang Feng, they hurriedly called a maidservant and gave Zhang Feng a bowl of hangover soup. The strong sourness made Zhang Feng tremble all over. After spitting out the things in his stomach, he felt a lot better. The hangover soup of this era was actually a mixture of aged vinegar and ginger. The taste, it felt great. Zhang Feng was completely sober. He hurriedly got up to look for water. As soon as he left the dormitory, he saw the three girls sitting neatly in the living room. Zhang Feng chuckled. "You haven't rested yet?" Yu glanced at Zhang Feng and saw that he had sobered up. She asked, "We just heard that you want to open a girls' class in Jiangnan? Is it for Zhao Yuer, Zhao Ruer, and Wu Manor?" Hearing this, Zhang Feng heard. He was sweating profusely. Damn it. Who the hell spread this rumor? No, it's not like that. Ahem. How can we know what Prince Zhang wants to do? It's late. Goodbye. Yuer got up and was about to leave. Jingshu and Yuyao also got up and were about to go out. When Zhang Feng saw this scene, how could he not understand that these masters had misunderstood? Hastily he blocked them and dragged the three of them to sit on the stools. "Aunties," he said, "listen to me. He is not what you think at all." Yu smiled faintly and revealed a charming expression as she said, "I'm not thinking of anything. It's Prince Zhang's freedom to do whatever he wants. Besides, we sisters have no status and no share. It's really miserable." Okay. Stop. I'm wrong. Okay. Zhang Feng hurriedly surrendered. After solving the problem of the 5 families and 7 hopes, I, Zhang Feng, promise to hold an unprecedented wedding for you. What do you think? Seeing that the girls stopped making trouble, Zhang Feng breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's like this. I open a girls' class to recruit girls to learn the female principles written by the Empress, so as to deal with the 5 families and 7 hopes. I don't have any other ideas. Don't misunderstand me." The 3 girls were shocked. It turned out that they had misunderstood Zhang Feng. Jingshu looked at Zhang Feng and said lightly, "You said you want to open a girls' class in Jiangnan to teach girls the female principles? Aren't you afraid of others gossiping?" At this time, when it came to serious matters, Zhang Feng also sobered up. He said, "There are many officials and rich businessmen in Jiangnan. Which one of them doesn't have 3 wives and 4 concubines? There are countless concubines. The female principles is the idea advocated by the Empress. Generally, only noble ladies and officials can come in contact with them. Ordinary people can't come in contact with them at all. I'm recruiting girls to study in the academy, not only to promote our perfume and soap industry, It's also to attract the rich businessmen of the clans to break into the 5 families and 7 hopes and disintegrate them from the inside. Women all love beauty. Their vanity and competitiveness are especially obvious. It's just right to use them to advertise the perfume so as to attract more people to join, stimulate consumption, monopolize the market economy, and disintegrate them from the inside. After hearing this, the 3 girls suddenly understood. It turned out that he had set up a series of traps to deal with the 5 families and 7 hopes. Yuer was puzzled and said, "Then you're a man opening a girls' class. Aren't you afraid that the spittle outside will drown you?" Zhang Feng smiled faintly and said, "I'm going to let you take over this girls' class." The 3 girls couldn't help but be shocked after hearing this. "What? Us?" The 3 girls looked at Zhang Feng in disbelief. Seeing this, Zhang Feng patiently explained, "First of all, Jingshu is proficient in music and palace etiquette. You can't be more familiar with women's rules, right? With you around, how can I not be at ease?" Zhang Feng continued, "And you Yao, you're a lady from a noble family. You're proficient in knitting and needlework. You're even more talented in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. I've also taught you some perfumes, soaps, and physical hygiene before, so there's no problem." Zhang Feng said again, "You're educated and well-mannered. You can walk among various forces with ease, and you deal with things appropriately. I'm very relieved to hand it over to you." Zhang Feng looked at the 3 of them helplessly and said, "Each of you has your own merits. I believe that you will definitely open a girls' class and get some useful information from them. And this is also the most effective way to deal with the 5 families and 7 hopes. Corrode them from the inside." Chapter 21:95. It was daybreak. On the street near the restaurant Zhang Feng was in, a group of youths wearing round hats and dressed in blue and white slowly walked towards the direction of the restaurant. They were students from all over the Tang dynasty. They came to pay homage to the principal of White Deer Academy, Zhang Feng. Along the way, the students discussed the legendary story of Principal Zhang Feng. There were voices of doubt and praise, each expressing their own opinions. "Let me tell you, the owner of this Chong and hotel is not the principal of White Deer Academy." "Hiss! What's going on? Aren't they all discussing that he is that Zhang Feng? Him? Why don't you think about it, even if he started studying in his mother's womb? Look at his appearance, he's only in his early 20s. Is there such a possibility?" No. You didn't F*King see it. But young Master Zhang made a poem in front of everyone. How can this be fake? Hee. What if this poem was said by that Zhang Feng in Chang'an? And it's not like you haven't heard of people impersonating others. Do you think, even if it's a teacher in a private school, which one of them is below the age of 30? This? At the same time, on one side of the Chang'an hotel, a youth wearing shabby clothes was chewing on dry food with difficulty, but his eyes were always fixed on the Chang'an hotel. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, he could not help but shake his head and ignore them. He had already been here for 3 days. In these 3 days, he would punctually wait here every day. He wanted to see if the legendary Zhang Feng had really come to Yuezhou and if he was really going to open an academy. But at this time, when he heard the hurried sound of horse hooves, suddenly a sharp reprimand sounded beside him. "Hey, the one in front, get out of the way, or else I'll crush you to death." The student who was looking forward to a bright future was awakened by the shout. He turned his head and saw a tall and straight man wearing a dark blue short robe looking at him with a fierce face as he shouted loudly. Behind him was an incomparably luxurious carriage that was driving towards this side. "Who?" A horse neighed and the carriage stopped in front of the young man. At this moment, a questioning voice came from the sedan. "What happened outside? Why did you stop for no reason?" Reporting to young master, "There's a villager blocking the way ahead. I'll deal with it right away." "Hold on. I'll go out and take a look." Out of the corner of the youth's eyes, he saw a man wearing a blue brocade robe and holding a white folding fan walk out of the carriage. His appearance was incomparably delicate and pretty. His heart couldn't help but be puzzled. Who was this to have such a grand display? "Brat, are you the one who's blocking my path?" The youth who had just alighted from the carriage glanced at the poor student with a face full of disdain. He even exaggeratedly covered his nose with his folding fan. The student who was gnawing on his rations was also somewhat angry. The government clearly states that carriages are not allowed to gallop in the market square. Aren't you afraid that I will report this to the government? Report to the authorities? The youth in blue satin seemed to have heard something funny. He laughed and said, "You said you want to report it to the authorities? Ha ha ha, why don't you ask around? I, Wang Jingtian, have been in Yuezhou for so many years. Other than me, who dares to report it to the authorities to arrest me?" You. The poor youth was flustered, but there was nothing he could do. This was the gap between people. At this moment, the youth in blue looked at the poor student and asked exaggeratedly, "Could it be that you also want to see Zhang Feng?" "Yes. President Zhang traveled thousands of miles to Yuezhou. Ha ha ha, President Zhang, this President Zhang. Is he someone you can call? To tell you the truth, President Zhang once said that only those who enter the Chang and hotel have the chance to see him. You people, are you worthy? You, brat, who are you? Who made the rule that only when we enter the Chang and hotel can Prince Zhang see us?" At this moment, the youth in blue's words instantly angered all the officials. They had been waiting here impatiently, but at this time, with this person's words, who wouldn't be angry? There were even some people who didn't believe in heresy and began to frantically knock on the door, trying to call Zhang Feng out and ask him clearly. At this time, seeing this situation, the bartender at the door of the hotel was in a panic. More and more people began to knock on the door. Some people even wanted to push open the door of the hotel. They began to panic. A guard who acted as the manager of the hotel saw this and hurriedly gave some instructions. Then, he hurriedly returned to Zhang Mansion and reported this matter to Jia Daoren. When Jia Daoren heard this, he was instantly furious. What the F***ck is this? They were simply bullying him, weren't they? After thinking for a while, Jia Daoren hurriedly reported this to Zhang Yuyao, who was trimming the garden in the yard. "Madam, did the dean get up?" Seeing Jia Daoren's expression, Zhang Yuyao asked, "Did something happen?" Jia Daoren hurriedly told her about what happened in the Chang and hotel. At this moment, Zhang Yuyao's expression changed and she hurriedly said, "Come with me." After a while, they came to the door. Zhang Yuyao pushed the door and saw Zhang Feng, who was still snoring on the bed. She went forward and called softly, Prince Zhang, Mr. Jia has something to report." Chapter 2196. Zhang Feng, who was sleeping, heard a gentle voice. He opened his hazy eyes and yawned. Just as he was about to scold the person who disturbed his beautiful dream, he saw Zhang Yuyao and Jia Daoren staring at him. He couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Is there a flower on my face?" Seeing that Zhang Feng had woken up, Jia Daoren stepped forward and said, "Dean, something happened at Chang'an restaurant." Zhang Feng was shocked. "What? Something happened? What's going on outside so early in the morning?" Zhang Feng looked at Jia Daoren in confusion and asked, "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" Jia Daoren said slowly, "Dean, you said that you wanted to open an academy at Poetry House. Therefore, when the majority of the students in Jiangnan heard that the dean of White Deer College wanted to open an academy here, they all came to find you. They wanted to verify whether you were the real person or someone else was impersonating you. Now, there's a quarrel outside because of a small matter. The scene is in chaos. Some people even prepared to smash the restaurant's door to see if you're here. They can't control the situation." Zhang Feng's mind was suddenly confused. Why didn't he remember this? Just as Zhang Feng was thinking, Zhang Yuyao said faintly, "Prince Zhang, you really have a bad memory. Did you forget that you said that you wanted to open an academy here and let all the students in the world come here to study? Could it be that you've forgotten?" After hearing Zhang Yuyao's words, Zhang Feng remembered that when he was at Poetry House, he seemed to have said something like that. He wanted to cultivate himself here. Initially, he wanted to come to Jiangnan and open a branch of Chang and University, which was also a branch of White Deer College. He wanted to develop his influence here. Later on, he was delayed by other matters and put this matter aside. Only when those students made a ruckus did he remember that his memory was really getting worse. They came with ill intentions. He turned to Zhang Yuyao and asked, "What do you think of this matter?" Zhang Yuyao nodded. When Zhang Yuyao heard Zhang Feng's question, she said, "I feel that this matter isn't simple. You opened a college here so that all the students in Jiangnan can come here to study. There are many rich merchants and young masters from clans. Everyone knows that you are in White Deer College, but here they have only heard about it. No one has seen you or seen how powerful you are. Some people even suspect that you are an imposter, so some people will slander you among the students. Also, if you do this, who will be affected most directly? Are you talking about the 5 surnames, 7 Wangs, and those clans?" Zhang Yuyao nodded. After hearing Zhang Yuyao's words, Zhang Feng couldn't help but stare at her and say, "Oh, as expected of Yuyao, you are like a roundworm in my stomach. Ha ha ha, your analysis is so thorough." Zhang Yuyao saw that Zhang Feng was so proud and said, "Don't be happy too early. Be careful or you won't be able to get out of this embarrassing situation." Jia Daoren stepped forward and said, "Dean, why don't you go out and settle this matter? Otherwise, I think it will be hard to control the situation." Zhang Feng took out a cigarette and lit it. He took a deep breath and seemed to be thinking about something. Zhang Yuyao walked in front of Zhang Feng and said gently, "Prince Zhang, why don't you go to Chang'an restaurant and settle this matter?" Zhang Feng thought for a moment and said, "Old Jia, go to Chang'an restaurant and tell those students that I am here to teach them." Zhang Yuyao and Jia Daoren were stunned when they heard this. "What? You want to teach in your own mansion?" Zhang Feng nodded in agreement, then said, "Yuyao, tell the servants to prepare the courtyard, tables, and chairs. I will speak to them here." Jia Daoren said goodbye to Zhang Feng and rushed to Chang'an restaurant. When he arrived, the scene was already chaotic. Some people were even about to fight. Seeing the situation, he shouted, "Everyone, quiet down and listen to me. Don't quarrel anymore and listen to me." However, no one paid attention to Jia Daoren in the chaotic situation. They were still quarreling. Seeing this, Jia Daoren shouted, "Dean Zhang Feng is going to teach you." As soon as he said this, the scene was silent. Everyone stopped quarreling and looked at Jia Daoren in disbelief. After a while, the crowd exploded and fell into a discussion. "Really? The dean of White Deer College, Zhang Feng, is going to teach us? Where is he? I'm not dreaming, right? Is this real? It can't be fake, right? I heard that the dean here is an imposter. He is not the dean of White Deer College, Zhang Feng." Jia Daoren continued, "This is absolutely true. Everyone, please follow me to Zhang Mansion. The dean is waiting for everyone there to teach you." Chapter 2197. A moment later, Jia Daoren led the students to the entrance of Zhang Feng's residence. When the guard saw so many people, he hurriedly reported to Zhang Feng. "Reporting to Master, there are a few hundred people outside and they are heading towards the residence." Zhang Feng and Zhang Yuyao were drinking tea in the courtyard. When they heard the guard's report, they were shocked. With so many people, the stools wouldn't be enough. He immediately said, "Send someone to remove all the stools in the courtyard." Not long after, Jia Daoren led the students in and saw Zhang Feng standing on the table. It seemed like he had been waiting for them for a long time. When the students saw Zhang Feng, the entire place was in an uproar. They were all discussing something. "Is that the dean of White Deer College? Why does he look so young? Could it be an imposter? The dean of White Deer College should at least be 40 or 50 years old, right?" Seeing the situation, Zhang Feng knew that they were suspicious. He said, "Everyone, quiet down and listen to me. You don't have to suspect that I am White Deer College's dean, Zhang Feng." When he said this, the entire place was shocked. When an older student saw Zhang Feng, he looked at the young man in front of him in disbelief. He didn't think that the current dean of White Deer College would be so young and already have such outstanding abilities. He was truly a talent. When Zhang Feng saw that the crowd had quietened down, he continued, "Everyone, all of you came here from afar to study. I know that all of you came here because of me, Zhang Feng, and I'm sure all of you have heard of the White Deer Institute. Food and drink are free, and there's no tuition fee. As long as you are able to figure it out, even if you specialize in a certain area, you will be able to earn points and exchange them for all sorts of fine wine and delicacies. When the crowd heard about good wine and food, they began to whisper. The wine brewed by the dean of White Deer College was top-notch. Normally, you couldn't even buy it, but you could exchange it with points in the college. This was too good. They heard that the food was also top-notch. Just looking at it made people drool. Most importantly, there was no tuition fee. This was really a college for the common people, as expected of Dean Zhang Feng. Seeing this, Zhang Feng continued, I can tell you very responsibly that you can also enjoy the same treatment as White Deer College. I am not boasting. As long as you come to my college to study, not only will I teach you all kinds of knowledge, I will also pick out talents from among you. For those with good grades and outstanding performance, I will arrange for them to study in the government's Ministry of Works and Ministry of Appointments. I also solemnly promise you that I will take care of your food and lodging as long as you do something for the college. I guarantee that you will be able to learn knowledge and culture that you have never come into contact with before. If you don't believe me, you can ask the students of White Deer College to see if I am lying. When the students heard Zhang Feng's wonderful speech, they couldn't help but feel a ripple in their hearts. Who wouldn't be moved by such a temptation? They couldn't help but envy the students of White Deer College. At this moment, they couldn't suppress their excitement and wanted to immediately register. As for the rich young masters and the wealthy merchants, their hearts were filled with disdain. This dean was someone who loved to boast. Not a single word of truth came out of his mouth. Whoever believed him was an idiot. They were not poor students, it was still too early to fool them. Zhang Feng ignored the rich young masters and continued, My college will open a textile factory, a steel mill, an experimental base, and many other subjects for everyone to choose from. In the textile factory, you can learn how to make leather and cotton clothes. In the experimental base, you can study how to make phosphate fertilizers and many other things. You can choose whatever you like. After you have learned it, you can become a pillar of the country. Promotion and wealth are just around the corner. You have also heard that my college has received the favor of Lord Zhongsun. Then the emperor personally issued a decree that anyone who graduated from my college can work in the Ministry of Works. Even other departments can do it. Kitchen, medicine, etc. We have dabbled in everything. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was real. He really was President Zhang. Otherwise, who would dare to say such a thing? Who would dare to rashly mention the imperial decree? That was a capital offense unless it was true. That was to say, suddenly, there was an uproar. At this time, the hearts of the students had been completely occupied by these novel things. In their minds, they were fantasizing about what they would like to learn and do after going to the college. Seeing that most of the students no longer had any doubts, Zhang Feng decided to light a fire to ignite their passion. He said, Have you heard of Yu Shernan? Have you heard of Ouyang Sun? They are all teachers of our college. You will meet them in the future. If you can be guided by them, your future will be limitless. You have to think carefully. What? Yu Shernan, Ouyang Sun? They are the great scholars of the current dynasty. Are they also coming to the college to teach? A loud voice was heard. Zhang Feng said, They won't come, but they will visit the college every once in a while. You will see them then. Not only them, but Dr. Sun Simiao will also come to the college. Chapter 2198. What? Sun Simiao? He's the godly doctor of the dynasty. He really went to White Deer College like the rumors say. And he's coming to Jiangnan to teach us medicine? Zhang Feng laughed and said, They'll provide their books for everyone to study. If you have any questions, just ask. The college will satisfy all your needs. At this moment, the nearby merchants, peddlers, and passers-by all climbed up the wall when they saw so many people at the entrance of Zhang Feng's residence. When they heard Zhang Feng's words, one of them couldn't help but ask. My family is relatively poor, and I usually feed pigs and cows. Can I also come to school? He was born a slave and didn't have any extravagant hopes. He just wanted to talk. However, To everyone's surprise, Zhang Feng actually cupped his fists at that person and didn't reprimand him for climbing up the wall. Sure. If you come, the college will arrange for you to feed pigs. I'll teach you how to feed pigs. If you can't do it, then get lost. Have you heard of the new breed of pig in Chang'an? That thing was also created by White Deer College. What? What? A new breed of pig? Also from White Deer College? Everyone was in an uproar. Everyone couldn't help but have some thoughts. President Zhang, my family has been cooking banquets for generations. Can I go too? Ha ha ha. Everyone couldn't help but burst into laughter. However, to everyone's surprise, Zhang Feng actually nodded. Have you heard of barbecue? Do you know the delicacies of Chang and Hotel? That's the product of White Deer College. Like I said, although White Deer College isn't all-inclusive, as long as you have a skill, I'll accept you. However, as for what you can learn, it'll depend on your own abilities. That's true. That works too. I finally know. That thing was also created by White Deer College? Everyone's emotions were finally ignited. Everyone began to ask questions. President Zhang, I'm a craftsman. Can I go too? Sure. My ancestors' footmen. Sure. President Zhang? Sure. Zhang Feng smiled as he looked at the crowd. As for Jia Daoren, Zhang Yuyao, Jingshu, Yu and the others, they were already in a daze as they listened in the corner. How did the problem, which they thought was very troublesome, suddenly become so easily solved with just a few words from Zhang Feng? This was simply Zhang Feng looked at the increasing number of questions from the crowd. He gestured to the crowd and said, Everyone, White Deer College has reached an agreement with the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Appointments. As long as you can successfully graduate from the college and are willing to work in the Imperial Court, as long as you have proof of graduation, the Imperial Court will accept all of you. Even if you can't go, even if I can't guarantee that you'll have a meteoric rise, as long as you're willing to work hard, it won't be a problem for you to live a healthy and prosperous life. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out from the crowd and interrupted Zhang Feng. President Zhang, you said that the college has set up the art of medicine. According to what you just said, everyone can learn medicine. Does that mean that everyone can become a physician in the future? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a man in white walking out from the crowd. He looked at Zhang Feng and asked in confusion. Zhang Feng found this person familiar. Isn't this the kid from the Fan family called Fan Jin? Why is he with the students? He then said calmly, You're right. The college set up the art of medicine so that all students can learn this skill. I can't guarantee that everyone can become a physician, but I can guarantee that everyone who learns medicine will at least know how to treat the basic cold and other diseases. After hearing this, Fan Jin retorted, You set up medical skills so that everyone can learn medical skills. Aren't you afraid of breaking this rule? Opening a medical hall is set up to treat everyone. Isn't it inappropriate for you to do this? Zhang Feng continued, Break the rules? Judging from the current situation, a simple cold will cost an income that ordinary people don't know how long to save up. Some poor people are even trapped by this small disease and don't have the money to treat it, so they die. I set up the art of medicine for the sake of the common people, so that at least they won't be unable to treat a small disease and end up dying of a serious disease. As a physician, don't you understand this? Fan Jin was refuted by Zhang Feng and didn't know how to open his mouth. It was true that many people looked down on them when they were sick. The high medical fees made it difficult for them to do anything. President Zhang set up the art of medicine, which indeed created benefits for the general people. This was undeniable. Fan Jin immediately said, President Zhang, will the medical books written by Dr. Sun also be available for everyone to learn? Zhang Feng nodded and replied, Yes. As for whether you can achieve something in the art of medicine, it doesn't depend on me or the academy. It depends on you, how much you can learn on your own. Fan Jin couldn't help admiring Zhang Feng in his heart. He bowed with both hands and said, President Zhang, I was rude. Please forgive me. Chapter 2199. Zhang Feng waved his hand to show his understanding. At this time, Zhang Feng and Fan Jin's words touched the hearts of all the students present. President Zhang Feng's actions were really from the perspective of the common people. Suddenly, there were countless applause and cheers. It's almost the new year. When will the academy open? When will the things you said come true? It's almost the new year. If we go to Chang and White Deer Academy now, won't we be there until next year? Everyone crowded around Zhang Feng and kept asking when the academy would open. They were afraid that Zhang Feng could not see them, so they kept pushing forward. Seeing this, Zhang Feng said, "Everyone, quiet down and listen to me." The crowd suddenly quieted down, quietly waiting for Zhang Feng to say what he would say next. It's almost the new year, so there will definitely be a meeting. Once the new year is over, there will be a meeting. But let me say this first, I will not accept everyone. For example, those who only know how to eat and do not work, those who do not learn, I will definitely not accept them. If your performance in your academy is outstanding, then I can make an exception and admit you to White Deer Academy. Or I can give you 2 questions here, and if anyone can answer them, then you can come find me at any time. As soon as these words came out, the crowd suddenly burst into an uproar. Everyone was talking at once. Many confident people were eager to challenge President Zhang's questions. There were also some people who thought of their own skills and went to look for Dean Zhang. Looking at the surging crowd, Zhang Feng said lightly, "Next, if anyone can answer these 2 questions, I'll teach them some knowledge in advance. Listen well, today there are pheasants and rabbits in the same cage. There are 35 heads on top and 94 feet on the bottom. How many are the pheasants and rabbits?" Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Hiss. What kind of question is this? Why haven't I heard of it? Is this the 9 palaces arithmetic? Everyone looked at each other. No one knew how to answer this question. They had never even heard of it before, let alone answered it. Those who were ready to go up on stage suddenly stopped. Their minds were confused. This question was too difficult. How could they solve it? How can a pheasant and rabbit be in the same cage? 35 heads and 94 legs? How can that be counted clearly? This is too difficult. I can't understand it at all. What heads, what feet? Don't rabbits have 4 feet? Seeing this, a smile appeared on Zhang Feng's face. He did not expect that such a simple mathematical Olympiad question would baffle all of them. Then he said leisurely, "Well, I'll give you a simpler question. Do you think the pheasant or the egg came first in the world?" Egg. Fart. Where did the egg come from? The pheasant. That's it. It should be the pheasant first. Everyone began to have a heated discussion, each expressing their own opinions. In the end, they couldn't discuss these 2 questions clearly. This was too difficult for them. Those who were eager to try were also defeated by these 2 questions. Zhang Feng took out a lighter and lit a cigarette. He took a deep breath and said, "Go back and study these 2 questions. If you can solve them or if you have special skills, you are welcome to come to me. It's getting late. Mr. Jia, see the guests out." Under Jia Doran's lead, everyone was mumbling something in their mouths. Their minds were still thinking about Zhang Feng's question as they slowly walked out. At the same time, Fan Jin stared at Zhang Feng in a daze. He seemed to be thinking about something. When he saw Zhang Feng turn to go back to the room, he silently followed him. Zhang Feng, who had just entered the room, sprawled on a chair. The speech had exhausted him. Just as he was about to take a short nap, there was a knock on the door. Zhang Feng was suddenly awake. Oh, someone came so quickly. He asked Yu Yao to open the door. The door creaked open. Zhang Feng looked up and could not help but be surprised. "Oh, Mr. Fan, why are you here? Come, come, come. Don't be so polite. Sit down and talk." Fan Jin saluted and said, "I'm Fan Jin, from Jiangnan. I'm from the Fan family. I've admired President Zhang's talent for a long time, so I'm here to pay you a visit." Zhang Feng heard this. The Fan family seemed to be quite famous in Jiangnan, and this Fan Jin was also known as the Little Miracle Doctor. Thinking of this, a wicked smile appeared on his face. He said, "Mr. Fan, you're too polite. Ask away." Fan Jin continued, President Zhang's actions today were all for the sake of the people. It's very admirable. Some of the things I said before were also unheard of. I wonder if President Zhang has any intention of cooperating. Zhang Feng heard this. Cooperation? He immediately asked, "May I know why Mr. Fan wants to cooperate with me? Is there something you can't tell me?" Fan Jin sighed and said, "President Zhang may not know, but the 5 families and 7 families are increasingly oppressed, and the Fan family is struggling at death's door. So I want to talk to you about cooperation." Hearing Fan Jin's words, Zhang Feng said calmly, "Mr. Fan, you're very talented and skilled in medicine. We can talk about the specifics." Chapter 2200. At the same time, in the city, a group of students were discussing something on the street. This attracted the attention of the street vendors and the passers-by. They all gathered around them. "How many pheasants and rabbits do you think there are? Why can't I count them? 1, 2, 3. No matter how I count, it's not right." They pointed at the pheasants and rabbits in front of the Chang and restaurant, constantly counting something. The surrounding commoners were even more confused. If they did not know, they would have thought that these students were possessed. The vendor looked at the group of students counting the pheasants and rabbits in his stall. He could not help but ask, "Little brat, what are you counting? What are you doing? Are you going to buy it or not?" A student said, Go. Don't disturb me, we're discussing something important. There will be money for you." The vendor was instantly interested. "What important matter is it? Why are you being so secretive? Tell me about it." The student said impatiently, "What are you doing? Go do what you need to do." The vendor said flatteringly, "I've seen you guys gather here for a long time. Just what is it that is making you so confused?" The surrounding commoners looked at the students with anticipation. They were curious just what was going on that could make these scholars so serious. The student looked around, then said arrogantly, "This is a pheasants and rabbits in the same cage question. There are 35 heads above and 94 feet below. We've studied it for a long time but have not come up with any results. Pheasants and rabbits in the same cage. Isn't this very simple? The pheasants 1, 2, 3. No, it should be this? That's not right. This is too difficult. Who came up with this question? Just what is this for?" The surrounding crowd was noisy, expressing their confusion. Just what was going on? Why did they come up with this question? The student said, "What do you commoners know? This is a question that the principal of White Deer Academy, Zhang Feng, came up with. If someone can answer it, then they can be admitted. If you have a skill, then you can also be admitted." What? The principal of White Deer Academy personally came up with this question? Why did he come up with this question? Could it be that the dean of White Deer Academy wants to recruit students in Yuezhou City? For a moment, there were different opinions. The crowd fell into a discussion, each expressing their own opinions. Seeing this, the student continued, "Of course, this question is too difficult. There is another question. Which came first in this world, the pheasant or the egg?" After the commoners heard this, they revealed confident expressions. This was simple. Even children of a few years old could do it. How could this question stump them? The egg comes first. Bullshit. Let me ask you, where did the egg come from? It was born from a pheasant. Then that's it. The pheasant came first. Go. The egg comes first. What do you know? I said that the pheasant came first. Within the crowd, there were already 2 people who were close to fighting over this question, arguing endlessly. The other people sighed that the question set by the principal of White Deer Academy was too profound. But when they thought about how to enter White Deer Academy, it really was a matter that brought glory to their ancestors. As they spoke, some people had already gone back to find their children and prepare to register. At the same time, in a village near Yuezhou City, a youth in tattered clothes was squatting outside the fence of a battlement. His mouth was muttering something that no one knew what he was saying. At this time, a woman over 40 years old walked out of the house and shouted, "De Zhuang, what are you doing outside the battlement?" After shouting for a long time, there was no response. She only saw that the youth was still there, counting something. The woman went to the battlement to see the youth, only to see the youth continuously saying, 1, 2, 3, 20 heads. The rabbit is 1, 2, 3. The woman continued saying, I'm talking to you. De Zhuang, did you hear me? De Zhuang impatiently said, Go cook your meal. Don't bother me. As he said this, he continued counting. The woman saw this and was shocked. De Zhuang, what are you doing? Don't scare me. It's over, it's over. De Zhuang has gone crazy. De Zhuang's father, come out and see the child. The woman anxiously shouted. A moment later, a man wearing a black robe came out, his mouth saying, What's wrong? What's wrong with De Zhuang? The man looked at De Zhuang, who was muttering to himself. He pulled De Zhuang's wrist over and placed his finger on De Zhuang's pulse. After a while, he muttered, De Zhuang is fine. The woman continued saying, Then what's wrong with De Zhuang? Early in the morning, he ran to the battlement and kept muttering to himself. I don't know what he's saying. When I called him, he ignored me. The man shook his head. He also did not know what was going on. When he checked De Zhuang's pulse, everything was normal. There was no problem. What was going on? He was originally a traveling doctor, traveling to various places to treat illnesses and save people. Today, he received an invitation to go to Yuezhou City to treat a patient. In Yuezhou City, a group of students went door to door looking for pheasants and rabbits. They kept confirming that the pheasants and rabbits were in the same cage. Many parents of the students thought that their children were sick and went to find a doctor. The doctors were very busy, running from house to house. P.S. Welcome to the second fan club, Goose number 796,825,810, Chapter 2201. At the same time, the traveling doctor had already arrived in Yuezhou City. Just as he entered the city, he discovered that there were many traveling doctors with medicine boxes at their waists. He did not know what had happened in the city, but did not think too much about it. He wanted to find a tea house to drink some tea to quench his thirst. After a short while, the traveling doctor arrived at a small tea house. Just as he reached the door, he saw a group of people gathered together, not knowing what they were doing. Without thinking too much, he found a place to sit down, preparing to order a cup of tea to quench his thirst. Speaking of which, that day, the dean of White Deer Academy was arguing with the students in his mansion. That scene was really majestic. The dean stood on the table and spoke loudly. It was really majestic. A voice passed from the crowd to the traveling doctor's ears. He curiously went over to see what was happening. Why were there so many people gathered, and what were they doing? When they got closer, it turned out to be a man in a black coat, with a small beard and a folding fan in his hand. He was standing on the table and talking about something with great interest. More and more people gathered around this side. It turned out that this was a storyteller telling a story here. Those who were interested stopped to watch. The storyteller continued to speak. Do you know? The dean of White Deer Academy wants to open an academy in Jiangnan to recruit students. He has set 2 questions as the criteria to recruit students. If you can answer them, then you will be accepted into White Deer Academy. The first question is the question of a pheasant and a rabbit in a cage. How many pheasants and rabbits do you get? Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Hiss. No wonder my child chases after the pheasant and rabbit every day. What is he doing there? That's right, that's right. My nephew stares at the pheasant and rabbit every day in a daze. I thought he was possessed. What kind of question is this? How can you count it? Hearing this, the traveling doctor's heart shook. He could not help but blurt out, Isn't this the mathematical Olympiad question of the 9 palaces of mathematics? What? Mathematical Olympiad? What is the mathematical Olympiad? Old man, what are you talking about? This matter. Everyone's face was filled with confusion. And at this time, the expression of the storyteller on the stage suddenly changed. He hurriedly asked, Old mister, are you talking about the 9 palaces of mathematics that only the princes and nobles can learn? Hiss! Motherf asterisk cur. What the hell is that? Sir, can you make yourself clearer? I'll pay for your tea today, but you have to tell me, What does Nine Palaces mathematics and Olympiad mathematics have to do with this young rabbit in the same cage? That's right, that's right. If you can explain it clearly, we'll even invite them to the restaurant today. If you can't explain it clearly, we'll have to let you walk out of here alive. All of the commoners were dumbfounded and began to clamor. The storyteller was sweating profusely when he heard that. He hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to the crowd. Everyone, don't be anxious. Listen to me slowly. Olympiad mathematics is a kind of profound knowledge. Every family has a farmland to cultivate. How much is the annual yield, how many seeds are to be planted, how much can be produced in one mu of land, and how much income is to be earned. Isn't this a headache for ordinary people? Everyone nodded in agreement. The storyteller continued, however, if you learn Nine Palaces mathematics, then these things can be easily solved. As for the current ministers and high-ranking officials, they use Nine Palaces mathematics to calculate their income and expenditure. They have to ensure the accounts of the Tang dynasty's treasury. But with Nine Palaces mathematics, those things become very simple. So that's how it is. It turns out that Director Zhang Feng is really considerate of the commoners. He actually taught Nine Palaces mathematics, which is only available in the palace, to everyone. It's such a good thing. We must learn it. I also have to ask my son to sign up for it. For a moment, the commoners shouted one after another. What's this about the pheasant and rabbit in the same cage? Hurry up and explain it. That's right, that's right. The storyteller looked at the footman with a troubled expression. He bowed with his hands folded in front and said, Old sir, I don't know how to answer this question. Since you know Nine Palaces mathematics, you must know how to answer the question of the pheasant and rabbit in the same cage, right? The footman said frankly, Old man used to be a minister in the Duke's mansion of Chang'an, so he naturally knows about Nine Palaces mathematics. As for the pheasant and rabbit in the same cage, Old man doesn't know either. But you can go to Chang'an's White Deer Academy and ask the students there. They definitely know how to answer it. What? Isn't it crazy to go to White Deer Academy now? It's such a long way. Seeing this, the storyteller continued, Everyone, calm down. As I said before, the director of White Deer Academy is going to open a school in Jiangnan. And he will take care of all your meals and drinks, and he will not charge you any tuition. If you have a skill and perform well, he will arrange for you to find a job in the Ministry of Works or the Ministry of Appointments. What? Free? I can find a job in the imperial court? Really? I want my son to go. Who knows, he might be able to do something and bring glory to his ancestors. For a moment, everyone was discussing animatedly, constantly sighing with admiration for Director Zhang Feng. P.S. Welcome to the number 2 fan club, goose number 796,825,810. Chapter 2202. A moment later, the commoners left the tea house one after another, going back to find their children. The next day, after the storyteller told the story of Principal Zhang Feng, the commoners of the city were in an uproar. The students were also constantly looking for pheasants and rabbits in the various stalls, seriously counting. There were also some who were constantly thinking about the questions given by the principal of White Deer Academy, causing the vendors and the owners of the noodle shops to not know what the students were doing. Guests, what do you want to eat? Noodles or dumplings? In a noodle shop, a peddler dressed in plain clothes was asking the students who were seated. No matter how many times he asked, no one paid any attention to him. They seemed to be deep in thought. When the peddler saw that the students were still not speaking, he continued to ask, Dear guests, what exactly do you want to order? If you don't want to eat, would you mind moving to another place? One of the students said impatiently, Go, go, go. Don't disturb us. We'll order again in a while. We definitely won't forget your silver. The vendor looked at the situation and could only swallow back the words he was about to say. In his heart, he thought, what's wrong with these students? Sitting there in a daze, not saying anything when asked, are they possessed? At the same time, in an imposing mansion in Yuezhou City, a middle-aged man was looking at a youngster squatting beside a pheasant house and a rabbit house, constantly counting something. After counting for a while, He ran to the kitchen and brought back some pheasant eggs. Looking at the pheasants scratching their ears and cheeks in thought, the middle-aged man immediately said, "Feng, what are you doing squatting there? Why don't you say something? Are you bewitched? Why are you counting so early in the morning? What the hell are you counting for?" "Master, there are guests." The middle-aged man looked at the youngster and sighed, then went out to greet the guests. Pushing open the door, he looked and immediately said, "Yo, Lao Li, Lao Zhang, Lao Wang, why are you here? What brings you to my mansion as guests?" Old Wang smiled and said, "Look at what you're saying, Old Huang. Can't I come here to drink with you? These old friends haven't seen each other for a long time. No matter what, we have to sit together and drink and chat. Don't you think so?" Lao Li and Lao Zhang chimed in, "Yeah. Lao Huang, do you not welcome us?" Old Huang laughed and said, "What are you talking about? Come, come, come. Please come in." They followed Lao Huang to the backyard and ordered the servants to prepare a table of food and wine for them to have a good drink. At this time, Lao Li saw the young man who was counting the pheasants and rabbits. He asked in confusion, "Lao Li, what's wrong with that kid of yours? What is he counting over there?" Lao Huang sighed and waved his hand, saying, "Sigh, don't mention it. Ever since my kid heard that the dean of White Deer Academy had come to Jiangnan to give a lecture, he came back and ordered people to buy pheasants and rabbits. Every day, he would hold the pheasants and rabbits and count them back and forth. He said that the dean was recruiting students in Jiangnan and even set 2 questions. If someone could answer them correctly, they would be admitted." Hearing this, Lao Li immediately asked, "What? The dean of White Deer Academy came here to recruit students and set up questions? I was wondering what's wrong with my kid. He's the same as your kid, holding the pheasants and rabbits and counting them back and forth every day. Do you think that this President Zhang of White Deer Academy is fake? If someone could answer these questions, they would be admitted?" Old Zhang interrupted, That's right. I don't know if this is true or not. White Deer Academy is very famous in Chang'an, and Principal Zhang is even more famous. Why would he come here to open an academy? I also heard this news from my kid. At first, I didn't believe it, but yesterday, in the little tavern on the street, a footman and a storyteller told me everything clearly and logically. Only then did I know that it was true. Lao Li continued, "Yes, I also heard that Dean Zhangfeng is recruiting students from all over the world, and he doesn't charge any tuition fees. If you have a skill, then you can even work in the imperial court. Also, what is his 9 palaces mathematics? That is a profound knowledge that only princes and members of the imperial family can come into contact with. This Dean Zhangfeng is going to teach this to all the students in the world. It's unbelievable." Lao Huang heard their words and couldn't help but say in surprise, "Is what you said true? Does Dean Zhangfeng really intend to teach this profound knowledge to all the students? If that's the case, then imagine this 9 palaces mathematics. If we let our children learn it, then it's really too amazing. In the future, even if we don't talk about working in the imperial court, even if we become merchants, our future will be limitless." Lao Wang, Lao Zhang, and Lao Li nodded slightly, indicating that they agreed with Lao Huang's words. After thinking for a moment, the 3 of them hurriedly bid farewell to Lao Huang and went home to see their children. They didn't want to miss this great opportunity. To be able to learn such profound knowledge for merchants, it was very useful. P.S. Welcome to the number 2 fan club, Goose number 796,825,810. Chapter 2203. At the same time, in a remote village near Yuezhou City, a group of people were doing farm work. Not far away, in a thatched hut, a young man in tattered clothes was mumbling to himself, "Denyo, it's time to eat. What are you doing squatting there?" A slightly plump woman with a headscarf walked out of the thatched hut. She saw her son counting something in front of the hut and could not help but ask. Seeing that Denyo did not respond, the woman walked up to him and patted him on the shoulder. "Denyo, what are you counting in front of the hut? Hurry up and eat. Your father will be back from the fields soon." The woman called out to him for a long time, but Denyo did not respond. He just stared at the hut and mumbled, 1, 2. No. Seeing this, the woman thought to herself, what's wrong with Daniel? Ever since he came back from the city, it's like he's been possessed. He's been counting in front of the hut every day. At this moment, De Zhuang's father, who had just finished his farm work, came back with a group of farmers. He shouted from afar, "Wife, is the food ready? I'm starving." The woman went up to them and said, De Zhuang's father, something happened. De Zhuang is sick. When De Zhuang's father heard this, he immediately asked anxiously, "What happened? What happened?" He then looked at De Zhuang, who was counting, and shouted, "De Zhuang! De Zhuang!" However, no one said anything for a long time. This made De Zhuang's parents very anxious. When the neighbors saw De Zhuang's situation, they immediately exclaimed, "Your child is like this too. My child is like this too. He ran to the hut early in the morning to count something. He doesn't even respond. I think he's been possessed." That's right, that's right. What's going on? He became like this when he came back from the city yesterday. The group of people continued to discuss this matter. At this moment, a doctor walked over from not far away. He saw that the villagers were discussing something and went forward to see what was going on. The doctor said, "You're right." When De Zhuang's parents and neighbors saw the doctor coming from afar, they immediately shouted, "Doctor! Doctor, quickly come and see what's wrong with the child. What's going on?" Lang Zhong glanced at De Zhuang, who was counting, and sighed. "There's no need to look. It's all like this. Whether it's your village or you state city, it's all the same." "What? Are they all like this? Could it be that Yuzhou City and the village are infected with the plague? Are all the children possessed?" Seeing this, Lang Zhong continued, "You may not know, but this is a test that the headmaster of White Deer Academy personally came up with." "What? A pheasant and a hare in the same cage? What is a pheasant and a rabbit in the same cage?" That's right. No wonder the child was suddenly possessed. Everyone fell into a state of discussion. Lang Zhong said, "Everyone please calm down. I'm not too clear on the specifics. I've only heard it from others. I only know that the dean of White Deer Academy wants to recruit students, so he specially set up a test. If someone can answer it, then they can be admitted." What kind of question is this? Why did the dean of White Deer Academy set this question? Since he wants to open an academy, why did he set this question? Everyone began to discuss, not understanding the intentions of the dean of White Deer Academy. Lang Zhong could not help but say, "You may not know, but White Deer Academy doesn't accept everyone. Could it be that those fools could also enter? So there must be a reason why he set up this question." "I see, but how much does it cost to enter White Deer Academy?" That's right, that's right. We commoners don't earn much money anyway. In recent years, the Zhuang family's harvest has not been good. I wonder if the school fees are expensive or not. Lang Zhong shook his head. "I'm also not sure. I only know that the dean of White Deer Academy does not charge any fees for enrollment. Everything is free. If you have a skill after you graduate, you can even find a position in the court. Not only do you not have to spend money, you can also earn money." As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd burst into an uproar. They looked at Lang Zhong in disbelief. They could not believe that there was such a good thing in this day and age. "Doctor, is what you said true? Is it true that you can earn money without spending money? Can't be fake, right? Is there really such a good thing waiting for us commoners?" At this time, everyone expressed their own opinions, gradually gathering around Lang Zhong. They looked at Lang Zhong expectantly, wanting to know the truth of this matter. Lang Zhong's forehead was covered with sweat. "I don't know much about this matter, but I heard it from a storyteller in a little tea house in Yuzhou City. All the commoners of Yuzhou City know about this matter. If you don't believe me, you can go and ask." After everyone heard this, they were incomparably excited. The dean of White Deer Academy really thought about the commoners. Not only did they not have to pay money, they could even find a position in the court to earn money. For such a good thing to fall into the hands of the commoners, just how much good fortune did they accumulate in their previous life? Immediately bidding farewell to De Zhuang and the others, They returned home to prepare for their children's journey to Chang and White Deer Academy. Chapter 2204. After the crowd had dispersed, De Zhuang's father looked at De Zhuang, who was still counting the pheasants and seemed to be deep in thought. He immediately said to the woman, "Wife, why don't we sell the sheep and the pheasants?" The woman thought for a moment before replying, "Sell. For the sake of our child's future, we need to fully support his studies." At this moment, De Zhuang regained his senses and looked at his parents, who had a serious expression on their faces. He asked curiously, "Father, Mother, what happened? Did something happen?" De Zhuang's father calmed himself down and said, "De Zhuang, we just heard that the Dean of Chang and White Deer Academy is recruiting students and has set up a test. If there is someone who can solve the test, they will be admitted. If you have a skill, you can also be admitted. Don't follow us to farm, hurry up and go to school. That way you will have a bright future." Hearing this, De Zhuang immediately said, "Dad, Mom, if I leave, who will farm the land? Who will do the farm work? Mother's body is not good and can't do heavy work. You are the only one left in the fields. How can I not care about you? I better not go." Hearing De Zhuang's words, the woman could not hold back her anger. She angrily said, "I say, you foolish child, don't even think about learning when others don't want to. Even if your family is poor, but the position of Dean of White Deer Academy does not discriminate between rich and poor. As long as you have a skill, you can become outstanding there. No matter what, you have to give your family some face." De Zhuang's father immediately chimed in, "That's right. Your mother is right. If you graduate from the academy and get a position in the imperial court, the two of us will really be lucky. I'll take care of the family matters. Don't worry." De Zhuang clenched the corner of his shirt and said, "But our family has no money. I don't want to be a burden to the family. It's better if I don't go. I will stay at home and help farm." Hearing this, De Zhuang's father flew into a rage, wanting to beat De Zhuang up. He angrily said, "You child, I've already told you that you don't need to worry about the family. You just need to focus on your studies. Besides, White Deer Academy doesn't even charge a single cent of tuition fees. This is already a great benefit to the commoners. If you don't take this opportunity to work hard, and instead say such depressing words, how can you face us?" The woman then said, "That's right. You don't have to worry about your family. Your father is in charge of the land. We'll sell the sheep and pheasants at home to make some money for your travel expenses. You can use them sparingly on the road. The journey to Chang is long." Hearing this, De Zhuang hurriedly said, No. If we sell the sheep, what will we use to live? If we sell the pheasants, what will we eat? Besides, the Dean of Chang and White Deer Academy is here to open an academy in Yuezhou City. There is no need to go to Chang'an." When De Zhuang's parents heard this, they were shocked. "Really? Opening an academy in Yuezhou City?" De Zhuang slightly nodded his head. Suddenly, the whole family was overjoyed. At this time, when the other farmers in the village heard this news, they all began to raise money for their children's travel expenses. At the same time, in an incomparably luxurious mansion in Yuezhou City, Old Huang was sitting on a recliner, looking at the youth counting the pheasants. He immediately said, "Housekeeper, prepare the children and the young master's luggage. Prepare to leave." "Yes, master." The youth came back to his senses and saw the servants running around in the courtyard, as if they were preparing something. He couldn't help but ask Old Huang, who was lying on the recliner, "Father, what are they doing?" Old Huang narrowed his eyes and said, "Child, I heard that the Dean of Chang and White Deer Academy is going to open an academy in Yuezhou City. He even set up a test for the students. I also heard that he is going to teach all the students the 9 palaces mathematics, which only the princes and members of the royal family have access to." The youth slightly nodded his head and said, "Yes, but I don't want to go to school in Yuezhou City. If I want to go to Chang and White Deer Academy. What kind of status do I have? I can't stay in the same academy as those unruly people. I'm determined not to go." When Old Huang heard this, he was so angry that he immediately sat up from the chair and scolded, "You unfilial son, That is a branch of White Deer Academy opened by Dean Zhangfeng. There is no difference between it and White Deer Academy. Moreover, you can learn the 9 palaces mathematics. Do you know how rare this opportunity is? Do you want to anger me to death before you stop? The youth snorted and turned his head away, replying indifferently, I don't care so much. In any case, I can't stay in the same academy as those unruly people. What kind of status do I have? What are they? They don't have the qualifications to stay in the same academy as me. They don't deserve it. Old Huang was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. But this unfilial son had been spoiled since he was young. He was used to it and would not listen to anything he said. He could only softly say, My son, listen to your father. Stay in the branch of Yuezhou City and study. Okay? The youth arrogantly replied, I don't want to go. The students of Chang and White Deer Academy are all high officials or relatives of the emperor. What are the people in Yuezhou City? They are a bunch of unruly people. They don't deserve to stay with me. Seeing that he could not persuade him, Old Huang was instantly enraged. He called the servants and prepared to lock the young master in the woodshed to reflect on his mistakes. The youth saw that his father was angry and could only give in. Okay, I promise you. I'll go, okay? Old Huang, seeing that his son had agreed, immediately ordered people to prepare a sedan and prepare to leave. Seeing this, the youth helplessly said, Father, it's almost the new year. The academy will only open after the new year. Why are you in such a hurry? Old Huang awkwardly scratched his head and laughed. Chapter 2205. At the same time, in Yuezhou City's Zhang Mansion, Zhang Feng lit a cigarette and looked at Fan Jin thoughtfully. No one knew what he was thinking. After a moment, he said, Young Master Fan, I will consider this matter carefully. Go back and tell your family. Let me know when you have a result. Fan Jin cupped his hands. I'll go back and discuss this with the clan leader. I'll give you an answer tomorrow at the latest. Zhang Feng was secretly delighted. It seemed that the fish was about to take the bait. If you come to my mansion yourself, I'll welcome you with open arms. As for your family, that's 2 separate matters. Let me know when you've finished discussing them. Fan Jin cupped his hands and bid farewell. He turned around and prepared to leave. As soon as he stepped out of the door, he bumped into Wuxia, who was looking for Zhang Feng. He nodded slightly to greet her. Wuxia also nodded in response. Then, she left Zhang Mansion under Jia Doran's guidance. After bidding farewell to Fan Jin, Zhang Feng lay back in his chair and let out a long sigh. He was about to take a nap when the door creaked open. Zhang Feng turned to see Wuxia looking at Zhang Feng with a serious expression. You're here. Zhang Feng said as he stretched. Why is Fan Jin here? Wuxia asked, puzzled. What's he doing here? The Fan family was a branch of the Chui clan in Bowling. Fan Jin was a very low-key and honest person. He planted his own medicine fields and stood aloof from worldly affairs. Something must have happened for him to come looking for Prince Zhang. Seeing you were so nervous, Zhang Feng thought to himself. Yuer had been traveling among the various clans all year round and was very familiar with Jiangnan. She must be proud of something. Seeing this, Zhang Feng said calmly, Fan Jin came looking for me to talk about cooperation, to find a way to survive. Hearing this, Wuxia exclaimed, Are the 5 clans and 7 hopes going to make a move early? Zhang Feng stood up and walked over to Wuxia. He took her hand and said, Maybe, but I'm here. You don't have to worry. Zhang Feng's mind couldn't help but be a little surprised. The Fan family had been quiet all this time. So why did they suddenly send Fan Xian in to look for him? Was it really like what Fan Jin said? The Fan family was prepared to cut off all means of retreat. Did they want to survive in this competition of points? Although Fan Jin made it clear, Zhang Feng wasn't a fool. How could he not tell that the Fan family was deliberately putting on an act for Fan Jin to see? Then, this foolish Fan Jin would come looking for him. Fortunately, you reminded him just now. Otherwise, he would have really been deceived by Fan Jin's expression and words. Wuxia blushed slightly. Prince Zhang, what do you plan to do next? Zhang Feng thought deeply for a moment. He was new to Jiangnan and unfamiliar with the place. If he wanted to take down the big bones of the 5 families and 7 Wangs, he would need to rope in a wave of power that belonged to him. Only then would he be able to gain a firm foothold in Jiangnan. The Fan family could be considered. Seeing this, Zhang Feng asked, What kind of person is this Fan Jin? Is he reliable? Wuxia nodded. This Fan Jin is honest and usually acts in a low-key manner. I can trust him, but I'm afraid he has some ulterior motive for coming to you. Hearing this, Zhang Feng already had a rough plan in his mind. If he could rope in Fan Jin with his reputation as the little divine doctor, he was quite popular in Jiangnan. If he let him spread the perfume, soap, and other industries, it was bound to attract the attention of the other clans and introduce their products to the market. Zhang Feng waved his hand. It's fine. It's just a relationship of interest. It's all within my control. He thought to himself that if Fan Jin sincerely wanted to rely on him, then he could help the Fan family when the time came. If he only had some ulterior motive, then everything was nothing more than a relationship of interest. Why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Wuxia faintly asked. Then if your academy opens after the new year, you have to prepare now. If you open an academy on the same scale as White Deer Academy, will Lao Li give you the money? Zhang Feng was startled when he heard this. He had not considered this. But since he had come to Jiangnan, would he be troubled by money? There would be an auction later, so he had to get some money. Then he said, As for the money, it will depend on Fan Jin. Hearing this, Wuxia doubtfully asked, Fan Jin? He's usually quiet and low-key. His words don't have any authority in the Fan family. Zhang Feng thought to himself. Indeed, the Fan family was in an awkward position among the 5 clans. In terms of prestige, they did not have the slightest right to speak. In the eyes of the other clans, they were looked down upon. Now, they needed someone with a lot of weight to appear. Thinking of this, Zhang Feng sighed deeply and said, It would be great if we could have the help of those people with different surnames. Wuxia said, You're thinking too much. They can't wait to skin you and pull out your tendons. Zhang Feng thought for a moment and agreed. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly remembered that Mr. Yushan was from the Chui clan of Qinghe. The Chui clan could be said to be very famous among the Chui clan. With his help, his plan would be able to proceed smoothly. P.S. Welcome to Fan Club number 2. Goose number 796,825,810. Chapter 2206. At this moment, a voice rang out, waking up Zhang Feng from his thoughts. Master, Mr. Yushan has come to visit. Zhang Feng immediately hugged Yu Er's waist. Look, aren't he here? Yu Er's face turned red, struggling in Zhang Feng's arms. Do you think Mr. Yushan is as greedy as you? Maybe Mr. Yushan will slam the door and leave. Ha, then do you want to make a bet? Let's see how I can make him help us. Help? Yu was stunned. She had thought of countless possibilities, but this was the only one she did not think of. Mr. Yushan was known as a stubborn old man. He had always hated money and business matters. Otherwise, how could a great scholar of the Chui family of Qinghe be alone in his old age? The door opened with a creak. Mr. Yushan came in and asked, Old man, I heard that Prince Zhang has opened an academy in Yuezhou City. He even set up a selective enrollment test in his mansion. Is this true? Zhang Feng said indifferently, It is true. It seems like this news has already spread throughout Yuezhou City. Even Mr. Yushan has been alerted. It seems like the speech last time was very successful. The news had already spread throughout the city. The spread of the news by the students and commoners was really unexpected. Now he was just short of pulling Mr. Yushan into his camp. Mr. Yushan nodded his head. Zhang Feng explained, Setting a test to recruit students is to let the students spread the news. Secondly, I can't just accept anyone. Those ignorant, incompetent, and lazy people will be the one who will have a headache in the end. Mr. Yushan was shocked. Could it be that this kid wanted him to oversee the academy? Old man was a great scholar. How could he wallow in the mire with this kid? This kid had tricked Mr. Yushernan into overseeing the White Deer Academy in Chang'an. This time he came to Jiangnan. This kid was definitely up to no good. He immediately waved his hand and said, "Old man is busy and has no time to take care of the academy's matters. It's better for you to manage it yourself." When Zhang Feng saw that Mr. Yushan had rejected the academy's invitation, he thought to himself that he hadn't used enough bait. Mr. Yushan didn't take the bait. It seemed that he had to use a more ruthless move. He immediately said sincerely, "Sir, you see, I only know how to win over talents, but I don't know how to teach people how to be a good person. Who else can take on the responsibility of imparting knowledge other than you? Aren't you afraid that I'll mislead the students? Isn't it better for us to have a clear division of labor?" Zhang Feng's words were like needles stabbing into Mr. Yushan's heart. Mr. Yushan thought to himself, "This kid really knows how to read people's minds. Indeed, if I let this kid manage the academy and teach the students knowledge, I'm afraid those students will become like profiteers. Wouldn't that be a waste of so many talented and intelligent students?" After pondering for a moment, Mr. Yushan stroked his beard and lightly said, "Because of Prince Zhang's sincerity, old man will promise you that I'll manage the academy to prevent you from misleading the students." When Yu saw that Mr. Yushan had agreed, she looked at Zhang Feng with an expression of disbelief. Zhang Feng looked at Yu's complacent expression, his face asking for a beating. Mr. Yushan continued to ask, "Since you've already spread the news, when will the academy open?" Zhang Feng took out a lighter and lit a cigarette. He deeply inhaled and sighed. "The academy will open next year, but it's a pity that I don't have any living money to use right now. Opening an academy required a lot of money. If it was opened to the same standard as Chang'an's White Deer Academy, then it would require a very large amount of money." Mr. Yushan looked at Zhang Feng with a face of astonishment and said, "Old man doesn't believe you. How can you not have money? You've given away so much white paper. Isn't that money? Do you know how precious that is? If you sell this white paper at a low price, then the money will come. This white paper could be said to be very expensive on the market. Normally, only Confucian scholars would use it when writing. Usually, there was only common rice paper on the market, and white paper was very rare. Therefore, scholars cherished it even more." Zhang Feng giving away the white paper made Mr. Yushan's heart bleed even more. Zhang Feng helplessly said, "I want to do that, but I've just come to Jiangnan. Where do I have a foothold? The only thing circulating on the market is rice paper. Who would buy my white paper?" After he finished speaking, he stared fixedly at Mr. Yushan. Mr. Yushan felt very uncomfortable being stared at and immediately said, "Don't look at me, I don't have money." Zhang Feng smiled slightly and said, No, you misunderstood. I just want you to do me a favor." When Mr. Yushan heard this, he looked at Zhang Feng suspiciously. As long as he didn't mention money, everything would be fine. Zhang Feng took out a bottle with small drops of water from the house and handed it to Mr. Yushan. He said, "This is perfume. It has the effect of calming the nerves and strengthening the yang energy." Mr. Yushan held the perfume and looked at it carefully. This was a good thing. Not only was it fragrant, but it was also very effective. Thinking of this, he immediately exclaimed, "Don't tell me you want old man to sell this for you?" No. When Zhang Feng saw this, he said repeatedly, No, you misunderstood. I just want to ask you for a piece of calligraphy to nominate this perfume." Mr. Yushan thought to himself, "Is this guy fooling me?" He asked doubtfully, "Are you serious?" Zhang Feng nodded. If this perfume was nominated by Mr. Yushan, it would be extremely precious. It would be a golden signboard. Then would the perfume not be able to sell? He would definitely make a lot of money. Chapter 2207. Zhang Feng suppressed the joy in his heart. Seeing that Mr. Yushan had agreed to the nomination, he prepared to tell Mr. Yushan about the auction. When the time came, he would need Mr. Yushan to participate. With Mr. Yushan's reputation, the auction would definitely be successful. At that time, the cost of establishing the academy would be completely solved. Thus, he smiled and said to Mr. Yushan, "Mister, this kid still has something to discuss." Mr. Yushan looked suspiciously at Zhang Feng. He thought to himself, "This kid, old man, has already nominated the perfume and agreed to the academy. What else is there?" Then he said, "Kid, old man will definitely not participate in the business of being a traitor. Everything else can be discussed." When Zhang Feng heard this, he couldn't help but feel touched. This Mr. Yushan was truly a stubborn old man. However, without his reputation, how could the auction attract those wealthy merchant clans and people of different surnames to promote his products? Zhang Feng said faintly, "This kid is planning to open an auction." Auction? What was this kid planning to do? However, Zhang Feng's following words made Mr. Yushan admire this kid's way of doing business. Zhang Feng planned to make some glass products such as colored glass cups, wine cups, and other products, along with perfume and soap, and sell them at the auction to the wealthy merchant clans and the people of the 5 surnames and 7 Wangs. But now, he just lacked an important person to gather these people together. Took Zhang Feng a full hour to explain everything about the auction. Mr. Yushan was stunned and said, "You're saying that you want old man to participate in your auction and gather those wealthy merchant clans and people of different surnames?" "Yes." Hearing this, Mr. Yushan was dumbfounded. He felt that he had been played by Zhang Feng. Mr. Yushan was a great scholar of the Chui clan of Qinghe. This Zhang Feng wanted to use Mr. Yushan's reputation to gather those wealthy merchant clans and people of different surnames. These people would rush to Mr. Yushan's reputation and would definitely raise the price to buy all of Zhang Feng's products. Good kid. He actually schemed against old man. Alas, Zhang Feng sighed and closed his eyes. He sighed and said, "I know that you are a person of virtue and prestige, but I need money to run an academy. I've just arrived in Jiangnan. Where would I have any connections and resources? I've just arrived in Jiangnan, and I don't have much of a foothold. You have a great reputation, and you're a teacher who teaches people to be kind and imparts knowledge. I'm thinking for the people of the world, so I have no choice but to do this." Mr. Yushan hesitated when he heard this. This brat was making things very difficult for the old man. If he didn't support him, it would be difficult for the academy to operate. In addition, the old man had already promised him that he would oversee the academy and teach the students. Now that he was going back on his word because of the auction, how could the old man keep his face? Forget it, it was better to listen to his plan first. These novel things also made the old man very curious. "Kid, tell me about your plan." This old man wants to hear it. "What are these colored glass cups and wine cups?" Zhang Feng chuckled and said, "Mister, I plan to make some glass products, together with perfumes and soaps, to attract the attention of the rich merchants and clans. With Mister's prestige, there will be countless clans coming to support you. Mister only needs to stay at the auction house, and I will take care of everything." Mr. Yushan's eyes narrowed. He stroked his beard and nodded. It seemed that this kid didn't ask the old man to do anything else. At least this kid had a conscience. Otherwise, the old man would lose face. "You said yes, but what about the transparent glass cups?" Mr. Yushan looked at Zhang Feng in shock and said, "Yes. Those things are used in the palace. You dare to sell them? What's the big deal? Which palace minister doesn't have my things? Why doesn't the old man have them?" Zhang Feng smiled and said, "Didn't you just come here? After the matter is over, it won't be a problem." Then he continued, "As for the colored glass cups and ornaments, they are just some glass products and some trinkets. Those wealthy families definitely like these beautiful and luxurious things, which are wine cups and ornaments." The colored glass cups were actually a kind of ornament made through high-temperature processing. The shape could be changed at will. If those wealthy families were greedy for money, they would give them a lu show ornament and make different shapes according to their preferences. To put it bluntly, these ornaments were just some necklaces, earrings, and other small ornaments made of glass. These things would definitely tempt those rich madams. When the time came, they would be given to Jingshu and others to give away. Mr. Yushan heard this and couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Zhang Feng and said, "Kid, you like to study things that the old man has never seen before to surprise the old man. When will your auction be held?" This matter could be rushed for the time being. Fan Jin had just gone back to discuss with his family and would give an answer the next day. When the time came, He just had to spread the news of the auction and attract the attention of those wealthy families and clans. Then, the plan could be smoothly carried out. In this way, the two matters of the academy and opening up the trade route in Jiangnan would be easily solved. Thinking of this, Zhang Feng looked at Mr. Yushan and said, "In a few days, I will go and prepare those things. I will have to trouble Mr. Yushan for the rest." Mr. Yushan nodded with satisfaction, then said goodbye to Zhang Feng and left the house. Chapter 2208. In Yuezhou City. At this moment, the news of Mr. Yushan visiting Zhang Feng had spread like wildfire. Almost everyone knew about it. At the same time, Zhao family. After the Yu family, the Zhao family was the first family that Zhang Feng extended an olive branch to. At this moment, in the living room of the Zhao family, Madame Zhao and Madame Wu looked at the mahogany box on the table with difficulty. No one knew what they were thinking. Why do you think Mr. Yushan is visiting Prince Zhang? This matter has already spread like wildfire in Yuezhou City. I don't know. After the marriage proposal with young Master Zhang was rejected, there hasn't been any news since. Could it be that Prince Zhang is planning to cooperate with Mr. Yushan? It's not very clear now. Mr. Yushan is a great scholar from the Cui family of Qinghe. If he cooperates, his conditions will definitely be better than ours. Enough! At this moment, in the corner of the hall, a middle-aged man who looked very similar to Zhao Yu'er and Madame Wu stood up and shouted. When Madame Zhao and Madame Wu heard this, they shut their mouths and stopped talking. At this moment, the old man sitting at the top said with a gloomy expression, "If Prince Zhang really cooperates with Mr. Yushan, then there is no other way. Do we have to fight with the Cui family of Qinghe for this cooperation opportunity?" Looking at the middle-aged man faintly, everyone's eyes revealed a helpless expression. The old man in the lead happily picked up the perfume and smeared it on his face, arms, and even his stomach. It didn't take long for him to finish making a bottle of perfume. The value of this little thing is quite high. If the Cui family of Qinghe gets it, the future is unimaginable. Our Zhao family and your Wu family can forget about surviving in the business world. What awaits us is only death. The old man clapped his hands, then picked up the soap and sniffed it. He actually took a sip. In an instant, his mouth was full of bubbles. The old man frowned slightly and sighed. I didn't expect such a small bottle of perfume to make people so addicted to the fragrance. If only we could get the manufacturing method, then our Zhao family wouldn't need to be afraid of anyone. After a round of evaluation, Zhang Feng's items were like priceless treasures in his eyes. The entire Zhao family was filled with admiration for Zhang Feng. They admired Zhang Feng for being able to create such a miraculous thing. At this moment, the old man asked, Zhao Zhu, do you have any other good ways to get the production method of this item? Or let Zhang Feng cooperate with us? When Zhao Yuer's father heard this, he could not help but be speechless. However, he did not dare to offend any of these people. He hurriedly said, Old master, I heard that Zhang Feng came to Jiangnan this time with a group of bodyguards. Those bodyguards seem to be from the imperial palace. If we use force, we may not be able to do anything. Moreover, last time when we sent you and Wu Man to the Zhang mansion for a marriage alliance, we were rejected. No? Do you all have pig brains? Don't you know how to think? Do you all want to wait for Prince Zhang to cooperate with the Cui clan of Qinghe and drive us to a dead end? Everyone fell into silence, and no one dared to refute. Zhang Feng was unmoved by force or persuasion, and he couldn't be touched. Beauty traps wouldn't work either. What should we do? Could it be that we can only watch helplessly as our clan declines? Zhao Zhu could not help sweating. These muddle-headed and arrogant old things only knew how to shout. Yu'er's pursuers were almost all high-ranking officials and dignitaries. There were even people from all walks of life who threw out an olive branch. Did they throw their tails up to the sky just like that? What could he do if Zhang Feng was unmoved by force or persuasion? Last time, he had already reached his limit by sacrificing his daughter. This time, what could he do if Zhang Feng cooperated with the Cui clan of Qinghe? They did not know this, but as the person in charge of the Zhao family, he knew how terrifying Zhang Feng was. Just like that, He had lost an opportunity that should have belonged to the Zhao family to soar to greater heights. How sorrowful and helpless this was. Zhao Zhu did not have any hope at this moment. He could only stand there numbly. After sending away the pedantic elders of the Zhao family, Zhao Zhu slumped on the chair as if all the energy in his body had been sucked out of him. He knew that the Zhao family might not have the chance to rise again after missing the big tree that was Zhang Feng. Husband, let's just wait and see. Before there are any results, let's see what Prince Zhang will do next. Who knows, there might be a glimmer of hope. Madame Zhao stood up and said with a gloomy expression. Zhao Zhu sighed deeply and said, "That's all we can do now. In the next few days I will send people to keep an eye on Prince Zhang and see if there are any changes. Since we can't touch him, then let's just wait and see." Madame Zhao nodded. Madame Wu stepped forward and said, "Then I will take my leave first. I have to go back to the family to discuss this matter. After that, we will see how things develop. If there is really no change, then we can only accept our fate." With that, Madame Wu turned and left the Zhao family. Zhao Zhu looked at his wife, and both of them were helpless. Chapter 2209. On the east side of the Yuezhou prefecture, in a mansion close to the city wall. This was the Fan family, a branch of the Zheng family of Xingyang. A group of people were discussing in the courtyard, each expressing their own opinions. Patriarch, which side are we on? Yes, Patriarch, if this continues, we will be stuck in the middle. Yes, we don't care. But those children are the hope of the future. A middle-aged man in plain clothes was thinking about something with his head lowered. He was the patriarch of the Fan family. The Fan family was stuck in the middle of the 5 clans and 7 Wang families. They came and went as they were called and lived like a dog. Now they needed to make a choice and stand in the right position to maintain the family. After thinking for a while, the patriarch of the Fan family said, "You don't have to worry. I have already sent the children to Chang'an. People like us don't care. But the children are our hope. I only hope that they can continue the Fan family." Report. Patriarch, the young master is back. At this time, at the door of the Fan family, a servant was panting and shouting. "What? This brat? Didn't I send him to Chang'an? Why did he come back?" At this time, a youth came out from behind the servant. Seeing the patriarch, he shouted excitedly, "Father, I'm back. Greetings, uncles." The patriarch was furious. This brat, Lao Tzu sent him out, but he came back. Did he think that he was not troublesome enough? His uncles were also shocked to see Fan Jin return. They sighed and blamed this child for being too insensible. The patriarch said angrily, "You brat, do you really want to anger me to death? Didn't I send you to Chang'an? Why did you come back?" Seeing this, Fan Jin hurriedly said, "Father, uncles, listen to me. I went to find President Zhang, and he agreed to accept me. He also said that if we stand on his side, he will protect us. Everything is up to us. Could it be that President Zhang of White Deer Academy? Why would he help us? Yes, he represents the current imperial court. We have lived like dogs for so many years. Are we going to continue to be dogs for him? No, I can't go back to my old life." Hearing this, the crowd began to discuss animatedly. They were constantly expressing their inner thoughts. They had been living like dogs among the various forces all these years. Their lives were very suffocating. Now that they saw hope, they still lived like dogs. They wouldn't want to live under someone else's roof. The patriarch looked at the crowd, then looked at Fan Jin and sighed. "It's not that we don't want to make a choice, but these years, the clansmen have had enough of living under someone else's roof. We don't want to go back to the past. Now, the hope of the clan is on you children. Don't let us down. Behind that Zhangfeng is the imperial court, and the imperial court is the sworn enemy of the 5 clans and 7 watchful clans. How are we going to survive when the 2 tigers fight? This is a matter that must be carefully considered. We can't gamble. If we fail, what awaits us is destruction." Seeing this, Fan Jin said anxiously, "Don't you know President Zhang's character? He is an open and trustworthy person. I know this very well. Besides, the 5 clans and 7 watchful clans are against the imperial court. They are purely seeking their own destruction. Their destruction is only a matter of time. You have to think about it carefully. Fan Jin's words made the crowd fall into deep thought. Back then, the Fan family was sandwiched between the 5 clans and 7 watchful clans and was often bullied by those people. The clan declined day by day, and their days were very difficult. They were ordered around like dogs, just like cannon fodder. Their life and death were worthless to the 5 clans and 7 watchful clans. Even if they died, no one would pity them. Now that Zhang Feng had thrown an olive branch to them, they really did not dare to accept it. This was related to the life and death of the entire clan. As the patriarch, he had to be responsible for the entire clan. If he took a wrong step, he would lose everything. He was extremely conflicted. The patriarch sighed deeply and said, "Did President Zhang say what he needs our clan to do?" Seeing that his father was wavering, Fan Jin continued, "President Zhang is going to hold an auction in a few days. Some glass products, perfumes, soaps, and other things will be put on the market. It will attract the attention of the rich merchants, clans, and the 5 clans and 7 watchful clans, so that they will buy them crazily. What we need to do is to spread the news." "Are you serious?" Fan Jin nodded. The family head and the other family members couldn't help but think in their hearts. This perfume was a rare item, and its preciousness was not inferior to the white paper in the market. Previously, it had received cooperation requests from some families. This time, Principal Zhang's auction would definitely attract the attention of those families. If they stood on Principal Zhang's side, the Fan family would be able to obtain a lot of benefits. Perhaps in the future, they could rely on Principal Zhang to make a comeback and no longer be cannon fodder. Thinking of this, the patriarch hesitated for a moment, and then said firmly, "I've decided to stand on President Zhang's side and work for him." After hearing his father's agreement, Fan Jin was very happy. His clan was finally saved. This decision might change the status of the Fan family in the future. P.S. Welcome to the number 2 fan club. Goose number 796,825,810. Chapter 2210. Yuezhou City. Wang family. A huge mansion appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Although the mansion was huge, it was slightly dilapidated. There were obvious cracks on the stone lion at the entrance, and the paint on the pillars had fallen off due to old age. Even the door had obvious marks. At first glance, it looked like a down-and-out mansion. It wasn't hard to imagine how grand this mansion used to be, but no one cared about it now. At this moment, there was a group of people gathered in the hall of the mansion. They seemed to be discussing something, and they were all expressing their opinions. "Do you know that Prince Zhang is going to cooperate with the Chui clan of Qinghe?" "Of course I know. I even heard that Mr. Yushan talked with Prince Zhang until late at night. Could it be that Prince Zhang is going to cooperate with the Chui clan of Qinghe to release this perfume into the market? Who knows? If that's the case, how can our Wang family rise again? Quiet down and listen to me." As he spoke, a man in his 40s walked out of the house. He had long hair and a face full of wrinkles. He looked kind and amiable. He was the head of the Wang family, Wang Shi. The Wang family was once glorious. During the Wei, Jin, and Northern and Southern dynasties, the 9-rank system was the main selection system for officials. The 9-rank system placed great importance on one's family background, which resulted in the power of the already famous families to grow. The Wang family of Taiyuan was also one of the top families in the world during this period. Later on, due to certain matters, the family declined, and they were always thinking of rising up again. Everyone instantly quieted down. Wang Shi glanced at everyone and said, "I already know about this. As for the cooperation between Prince Zhang and the Chui clan of Qinghe, it's not good for us. As for Prince Zhang's medicine, I don't know if it can save our Wang clan." "Then, what does the head mean?" A man in the crowd walked up and asked in confusion. Wang Shi was in a dilemma. He had endured for so many years, and now that Prince Zhang appeared, he saw the hope of revival. But could that small bottle of medicine really bring the Wang family back to life? He didn't know. If it failed, he didn't know how to face his family. Gamble? Or not? At this moment, These two decisions were impacting Wang Shi's heart. Previously, when little friend Zhang Feng came to his residence as a guest, he felt that little friend Zhang Feng was very reliable and even recommended him. After a moment of hesitation, his expression became resolute. He said, "I want to believe in little friend Zhang Feng, and I also believe in the precious value of that small medicine. This time, I'm gambling on the fate of the Wang clan. After enduring for so many years, I can't continue like this." Wang Shi's hot-blooded declaration ignited the fire in everyone's hearts. In order to revive their family, they were willing to stake everything on this gamble. At the same time, on the west side of the Huizhou prefecture, there was a small mansion close to the city wall. This was the once insufferably arrogant Yang family. All these years, the Yang family had been very low-key in Jiangnan because they were afraid that Li Shimin would think of them. However, for some unknown reason, they had been targeted a few days ago. As a result, their originally poor life became even worse. Although these years the Yang family had been suppressing them, they could only endure it. It was not that they didn't want to report it, but that they didn't dare to report. "Oh no, Mr. Yushan has visited Prince Zhang." At this moment, at the door of the Yang family, a breathless voice suddenly sounded. In an instant, the Yang family, who were in a state of panic, became furious. "What? Bastard, what did you say? Mr. Yushan has visited Prince Zhang?" At this moment, an old man in his 50s rushed out of the front hall with a crutch and asked. The clansman who had just returned from the outside told them everything that he had heard outside, tears and snot running down his face. "What? Is Prince Zhang preparing to cooperate with the Cui family of Qinghechui?" In an instant, all the Yang family who had been driven out were in an uproar. "What should we do? If the Cui family of Qinghechui cooperates with Prince Zhang, then wouldn't the perfume made by Prince Zhang be taken advantage of by the Cui family of Qinghechui? That's right. Then the Jiangnan market will be disrupted. The Cui family of Qinghechui family will be the dominant force. At that time, the position of the Yang family will become more and more difficult." Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. They were already in a state of panic. If this happened, then it would be one disaster after another. Previously, Prince Zhang wanted to rope them in, but they did not agree. Now the Cui family of Qinghechui family had taken advantage of them. What should they do? Is this small bottle really that valuable? I don't know. Who dares to bet on this? Forget it. Otherwise, the loss will not be worth it. How could they not know about the matter of Zhang Feng? They had also heard about the matter of Chang and White Deer Academy, but they did not dare to bet the life and death of their entire family on a small bottle of perfume. If they failed, then all the efforts of the Yang family over the years would be in vain. Everyone fell into silence. Chapter 22:11. At the same time, after bidding farewell to Mr. Yushan, Zhang Feng returned to his room and asked Jia Daoren to call Jing Shu in for a detailed discussion. At this moment, Jing Shu opened the door and saw Zhang Feng, Yu Yao, and Yu seemed to be discussing something. She then asked curiously, "Prince Zhang, what is it that you want to discuss?" Zhang Feng stepped forward and took Jing Shu's hand to help her sit down. He looked at the three women and said lightly, "The auction will begin in 2 days. Next, we have to start preparing for the auction." "Auction?" Jing Shu looked at Zhang Feng in confusion, and then looked at Yu and Yu Yao. She didn't know that Jing Shu wasn't there when she was talking with Mr. Yushan, so she was quite curious. Could it be that Prince Zhang had come up with some new tricks? Zhang Feng nodded and said, "Jing Shu, I'm going to open an academy. All of my properties are in Chang'an. So Mr. Yushan and I have decided to open an auction in 2 days to earn some money for the academy's construction and open up a business route in Jiangnan." "What? You also pulled Mr. Yushan to your side?" This Mr. Yushan was a stubborn old man with a traditional mindset. Moreover, he was a great scholar of the Cui clan of Qinghe. How could he be involved in such a treacherous business with Zhang Feng? Jing Shu looked at Zhang Feng in disbelief. Zhang Feng chuckled and then pointed to Zhang Yuyao and Yu saying, "Well, if you don't believe me, you can ask them." They were there. Zhang Yuyao and Yu nodded helplessly. This Prince Zhang was so prepared and far-sighted. At first, they didn't believe that he could pull Mr. Yushan to his side. Now they were convinced. Prince Zhang seemed to have a magical power that could make the impossible possible. Life was like a play, and it all depended on acting skills. They admired Prince Zhang very much. The facts were right in front of them. Jingshu couldn't help but admire Prince Zhang's talent and strategy. Well, everyone is here. Let's show you something good first. Old Jia, prepare the carriage. Did you take down the workshop I asked you to set up before? Yes, it's in the alley to the right of the market. Let's go. Lead the way. The group rushed to the workshop. This workshop was located in the bustling area of Yuezhou City. It was originally a small workshop that made colored glass. Colored glass was highly sought after in Jiangnan and was very precious. The owner of this small workshop was a middle-aged man who had been processing colored glass for more than 30 years. The business was mediocre. If he didn't open it, he would make a profit for 3 years. Suddenly, a person came one day and wanted to buy his workshop. At the same time, he would give him a sum of money every year to continue to take care of the workshop. The owner thought that it was his turn to be a good thing, so he agreed without hesitation. It turned out that the man bought the workshop because his master had the absolute skill of making colored glass, so he sent him to buy the workshop. A moment later, 2 carriages slowly drove over. A man in white and 3 beautiful women came down from the carriages. The owner saw that the people who came were dignified and dignified. They were definitely not ordinary people. When he saw the coachman, he was shocked. Wasn't this the person who bought his workshop? Could it be? The person next to him was the master who had the absolute skill of making colored glass? How could he be so young? He immediately went forward to greet him, bowed respectfully and said, "Master, are you the master who bought my workshop?" Zhang Feng nodded his head in acknowledgement. The owner had been processing colored glass for more than 30 years, and his skills were even more impressive. The man in front of him actually had better colored glass processing skills than him. He didn't believe it. Thinking of this, he invited everyone into the workshop. He wanted to see if the man in front of him was as powerful as the rumors said. As soon as they entered the workshop, everyone felt incomparably hot. They saw a group of craftsmen working on their positions. When they saw the owner come in, they nodded their heads and greeted him. The owner brought everyone to the furnace produced by the colored glass processing. The hot air that hit their faces made them sweat profusely. Then, the owner picked up a pair of tongs and was ready to show Zhang Feng his skills. He threw the colored glass into the hot furnace to heat it up. After a while, he picked up the tongs and molded the red-hot colored glass. A moment later, the colored glass was molded into the shape of a cup. He then put the glass into water to cool it down. After a while, he scooped up the glazed glass, and a glazed glass cup came out. The glazed glass cup was gray all over, and it really didn't look good. Perhaps the craftsmanship back then was just SOSO. The boss proudly showed the glazed glass he made to Zhang Feng and the others. His craftsmanship over the past few decades was not just for show. Who would have thought that Zhang Feng would say, "This colored glass can't be used"? The owner's heart instantly turned cold. His craftsmanship was rejected. Just as he was about to refute, he heard Zhang Feng say, "You used carbon for this furnace, right?" The owner nodded his head. Then, Zhang Feng continued, "No wonder. The melting point of carbon is too low. You use coal to calcine it, raise the melting point, and increase the temperature to let the colored glass undergo a high degree of purification. The colored glass produced this way is what I want." Chapter 22:12. The boss was puzzled. He had never heard of Zhang Feng's method before. Could it be purified like this? Zhang Feng saw that the boss was puzzled and nodded, indicating that there would be no problem if he followed his method. The boss doubtfully changed the charcoal to coal, and the temperature of the furnace instantly rose. He picked up the glass and placed it in the furnace for calcining. Then he molded it and put it into the water. After taking it out, a crystal-clear glass appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone was shocked speechless by the glass in front of them. What was this? Why had they never seen this kind of glass before? It was actually transparent. It was too beautiful. The The boss had been in the business for decades and had never seen this kind of transparent glass. Today was an eye-opener for him. He didn't expect this young master to have such skills. He couldn't help but admire him. Zhang Feng nodded and said, "In the future, you will follow this method to make glass." The boss looked at everything in front of him in disbelief and nodded numbly. Then he waved his hand and sent the boss out. Zhang Feng looked at the three girls and smiled. "This is nothing. Let me process something you have never seen before." The three girls were curious. The glass in front of them was already so beautiful. Could there be something better than this glass? Zhang Feng picked up the sand and put it in the furnace to calcine and purify it. After a while, he took out a basin of red liquid. Seeing that the impurities on the liquid were almost transparent, he immediately waited for the liquid to solidify and put it in the water to cool it down. Finally, he took out a small piece of glass. What was this? Everyone was curious. Zhang Feng smiled and said, "Old Jia, get a hammer and smash this glass." What was he doing? Jia Daoren took the hammer with a puzzled look. Smash! The glass didn't move at all. It was extremely hard. Everyone was shocked. How could this small glass be so hard? Seeing this, Zhang Feng picked up the glass and pinched it gently. The glass instantly shattered. This? What's going on? This glass is so hard that even a hammer can't break it. Why did it shatter so easily? This is the highest level of making colored glass. Dare I ask, Prince Zhang? This method is, use the furnace to purify it. Purification. The surrounding craftsmen couldn't help but stop their work and gather around. Zhang Feng pointed to the forging table at the side, then picked out two relatively strong people from the crowd and asked them to put a basin of sand into the furnace to be calcined, then purified and finally molded. They took out an iron rod and molded the liquid before it solidified. This time, the craftsmen were stunned. Seeing the liquid change into a different shape in an instant, he was shocked. How was he going to purify it? How was he going to shape his character? However, since Zhang Feng had already said it, they had no choice but to do it. At this time, after hearing Zhang Feng's production method, they could not help but be eager to give it a try. Is this method really effective? The craftsmen were dumbfounded. They could not believe that there was such a forging method in the world. It would be great if they could master it. Of course, they had to master the forging method themselves. After all, it was a secret. After that, Zhang Feng no longer paid attention to the craftsmen. He picked up a basin of sand and placed it into the furnace to be calcined. After a while, he took it out again and looked at the red liquid. He added some white powder into it and then placed it back into the furnace. Seeing this scene, all the craftsmen were stunned. What was this white substance? Also, the glass had already been smelted. Why did he have to smelt it again? Shopkeeper, who is this old Master Zhang? At this time, a craftsman looked at the shopkeeper of the colored glass workshop with a puzzled face. The shopkeeper was not clear either. He only said, "I only know that his name is Zhang Feng. He's the one who has been causing a commotion in Yuezhou City recently." Zhang Feng? He's the dean of White Deer College, Zhang Feng? Oh my God. I heard that White Deer College has a top colored glass master from the western region. Could it be? At this time, all the colored glass masters looked at Zhang Feng, who was busy with the molds, in shock. At this time, he did not look like a dean at all. Instead, he looked more like a craftsman. After a while, the finished products of the colored glass were made. There were rings, necklaces, and earrings. They were inlaid with beautiful colored glass and were very beautiful. What's that? Is it a gem? This colored glass can be made into such things. The three ladies and the craftsmen looked at the beautiful accessories in front of them with a face full of question marks. They were extremely shocked. After that, Zhang Feng put the accessories on the three ladies. They looked at the items in front of them in disbelief. They had never seen such beautiful things. Zhang Feng smiled and said, "How is it? Do you like it?" The three ladies looked even more beautiful with the accessories. They could not hide their excitement and blushed to show that they liked it very much. It's too beautiful. The three ladies look even more beautiful with this treasure. That's right, that's right. The craftsman looked at the three ladies in a daze. Zhang Feng smiled and said, "You guys like it so much. Women love beauty. What will happen if I put this item in the auction house?" "What? You want to put this item in the auction house? If that's the case, wouldn't those wealthy merchant clans—" "That's right. If these items were put in the auction house, they would definitely attract the attention of those wealthy merchant clans and the 5 great families." The colored glass was precious, but this transparent colored glass and beautiful accessories would definitely be fought over by all the women in the market. Which woman didn't love beauty? Not to mention those wealthy ladies who were dressed to the nines. They would definitely earn a lot of money.